Chapter 3975. Suppress him. Lin Feng stepped forward and opened his hand. Instantly, dense runes interweaved in the void and pressed down on the Great Dream Empress. Lin Feng's great suppression art was extremely powerful. Once it was used, it could erupt with unimaginable power. Now that Lin Feng's cultivation had improved greatly, the great suppression art was even more powerful. The Great Dream Empress had just been sent flying. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens for her to resist Lin Feng's great suppression art. The dense runes interweaved to form the word suppress. Then it pressed down on the Great Dream Empress's body. Suddenly, the Great Dream Empress could not move. The Great Dream Empress's expression changed drastically. Now that she was suppressed by Lin Feng, her heart sank to the bottom. Great Dream Empress, it seems like you are destined to be my personal maid. Lin Feng reached out and pinched the Great Dream Empress's tender cheeks. Get your dirty hands off me, the Great Dream Empress screamed. Lin Feng said, You have quite a temper. Now that you have become my prisoner, don't you think it's unbelievable? You must have never thought that you would end up like this, right? The Great Dream Empress's expression was extremely ugly. She said in a deep voice, Every place has its own rules. You killed Emperor Yinglong, and now you have subdued Emperor Juyin. If you attack me now, what will the other emperors think? Have you thought about the consequences? The other emperors will definitely attack you. If you let me go now, we can work together. I can let you gradually devour the other emperors. TSK. You are really willing to do anything for yourself. Lin Feng smacked his lips and said, Every man for himself. The Great Dream Empress said. One had to admit that this woman had the temperament of an ambitious person. Unfortunately, she was a woman and her combat strength in the real world was not particularly strong. Otherwise, this woman would definitely become an overlord of a region. Lin Feng pinched the snow-white chin of the Great Dream Emperor and said, As for the rest of the Emperor Lords, I will naturally subdue them as well. But I won't let you off so easily. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Feng reached out and gently tapped the Great Dream Emperor Lord's forehead. All of a sudden, a powerful force of purification gushed into the mind of the Great Dream Emperor. The purifying power vibrated the void and emitted a power that could distort time and space. It was terrifying to the extreme. A powerful strength penetrated into the Great Emperor's brain. Lin Feng wanted to convert him. Actually, Lin Feng really wanted to subdue the Great Emperor because she could enter other people's dreams. She was terrifyingly strong. The Great Dream Emperor Lord was almost invincible in other people's dreams. In addition to entering other people's dreams, she could also make others quickly fall asleep. These methods, it was abnormally heaven-defying. If he could subdue the Great Dream Emperor Lord, then the Great Dream Emperor Lord would definitely become Lin Feng's right-hand man. Don't even think about converting me. The Great Dream Emperor Lord screamed in anger. Lin Feng discovered that there was a powerful magic treasure in the mind of the Great Dream Emperor Lord. That magic treasure was a pitch-black bowl. Of course, it might not be a bowl. Just by looking at the shape, it did look like a bowl. That magic treasure was very strange and could emit an extremely terrifying devouring power. That devouring power was enough to cause one's expression to change. The purifying power that gushed into the mind of the Great Dream Emperor Lord, it was actually devoured by the bowl-type magic treasure. What kind of treasure is this? Lin Feng was stupefied when he saw that treasure. It was too strange, no matter how much purifying power it produced. But in the end, It was still devoured by the bowl-type magic treasure of the great Dream Emperor Lord. This magic treasure was somewhat similar to Lin Feng's heaven-devouring jar. This is my natal magic treasure, the heaven-devouring bowl, which I forged with the heaven-devouring stone. I obtained the forging method of this magic treasure from a treasure left behind by the heaven-devouring devil emperor. With the heaven-devouring bowl protecting me, you can't convert me at all, the great Dream Emperor Lord said. Lin Feng was very surprised. He didn't expect the great Dream Emperor Lord to have obtained something from his ancestor, the heaven-devouring devil emperor. It was unbelievable. Lin Feng said, "Do you know who the heaven-devouring devil emperor is? Let me tell you, the heaven-devouring devil emperor is my ancestor." "The heaven-devouring devil emperor is your ancestor?" The great Dream Emperor Lord was shocked. Lin Feng said indifferently, "Now, it seems that we have some relationship. If you take the initiative to recognize me as your master, I can make you my concubine. How about it?" The great Dream Emperor Lord's face darkened. She quickly rejected Lin Feng's proposal. "I'd rather die than recognize you as my master. Anyway, you can't convert me. Why don't we both take a step back?" The great Dream Emperor Lord said. This woman was more scheming. Her soul was hiding in the heaven-devouring bowl, so she had nothing to fear. "Hee, you think too highly of yourself," Lin Feng sneered. Then he summoned a supreme treasure to deal with the great Dream Emperor Lord. This supreme treasure was the heaven-devouring jar passed down by his ancestor, the heaven-devouring devil emperor. The heaven-devouring bowl was naturally inferior to the heaven-devouring jar. The heaven-devouring bowl was a forging method casually written down by the heaven-devouring devil emperor. The heaven-devouring jar, on the other hand, was a natal magic treasure that the heaven-devouring devil emperor had painstakingly forged. The heaven-devouring jar flew into the great Dream Emperor Lord's mind and released a terrifying pressure. That terrifying aura directly pressed down on the sky-devouring bowl. The heaven-devouring bowl trembled violently when it sensed the terrifying aura of the heaven-devouring jar. It was like a low-level beast encountering a high-level beast, and being suppressed by the high-level beast to the point that it did not dare to resist. Now, the heaven-devouring bowl was in such a situation. It was suppressed to the point that it did not dare to resist. It kept trembling. It kept trembling. It kept trembling. The heaven-devouring bowl emitted a devouring power. It also disappeared into thin air. Lin Feng's power of conversion surged into the heaven-devouring bowl and found the great Dream Emperor Lord's soul. The power of conversion. It began to convert the great Dream Emperor Lord's soul. "No, I can't accept this." The great Dream Emperor Lord screamed in horror and began to resist Lin Feng's conversion. However, no matter how hard she tried, she could not resist the erosion of the power of conversion. As time passed, the great Dream Emperor Lord's struggle became weaker and weaker. In the end, she stopped struggling. There was a serene look on her face. "Meng, Greet's master." The great Dream Emperor Lord bowed to Lin Feng. Chapter 3976. Of the 7 Emperor Lords of the Dark Ancient Forest, Emperor Jiuyan and great Dream Emperor Lord had already been subdued by Lin Feng. Only the Black Turtle Ancestor, Emperor Yunzhe, Emperor Shui Wang, Emperor Divine Monkey, and Emperor De Peng were left. These 6 Emperor Lords were extremely powerful, and each had their own domain of expertise. Some controlled the power of wind, rain, thunder, and lightning. Some controlled destruction. Some controlled the blood sea. Some controlled the space and speed Dao. And some controlled the transformation Dao. All of these Daos had their own wonders. If Lin Feng could subdue these Emperor Lords, it would be a huge help. Lin Feng's goal was simple. He wanted to build a huge force and establish a foothold in the great sage world. If possible, it would be best to destroy the Sacred War Alliance. If it wasn't for the Sacred War Alliance, the 9 states wouldn't have suffered such heavy casualties. Many of his old friends and fellow sect members wouldn't have died so tragically. Therefore, Lin Feng hated the Sacred War Alliance. If there was a chance to destroy the Sacred War Alliance, Lin Feng wouldn't miss it. Of course, Lin Feng needed to continue accumulating his strength. If he wanted to deal with the Black Turtle Ancestor, Emperor Yunzhe, Emperor Shui Wang, Emperor Divine Monkey, and Emperor Depeng, he needed a strategy. These 5 Emperor Lords. Lin Feng planned to deal with the Black Turtle Ancestor last because the Black Turtle Ancestor was too powerful. It was not an easy task to defeat the old Master Black Tortoise. Emperor Depeng controlled the space and speed Dao, so it wouldn't be easy to deal with him either. Therefore, he should be dealt with later. And he had to think of a foolproof plan. After thinking for a while, Lin Feng decided to go and fight against Emperor Yunzhe first, because Emperor Yunzhe was closer to Great Dream's territory. News of the Great Dream Emperor's matter hadn't spread yet, so now was the best time to act. If he waited until news of the Great Dream Emperor's matter spread before dealing with the other Emperor Lords, the other Emperor Lords might join forces. If those Emperor Lords joined forces, it would be troublesome. It would be a huge threat to Lin Feng and the others. Lin Feng brought the Great Dream Emperor, the 3-headed viper, Emperor Juyan, and 80 Emperor Lords to Emperor Yunzhe's territory. Among the 80 emperors, 25 of them were subordinates of the Great Dream Emperor. But now, those people had already become Lin Feng's subordinates, and all of them had pledged their loyalty to him. He was extremely loyal to Lin Feng. That night, Lin Feng and the others went to Emperor Yunzhe's core area. This was a huge lake called Yunzhe Lake. Monarch Yunzhe's Yunzhe Imperial Palace was built in the depths of the lake. The lake was surrounded by patrolling beast cultivators. The Great Dream Empress began to chant an incantation. Lord Emperor, Emperors, Emperors, Emperor, S's Emperor, S. Very soon, the patrolling beast cultivators couldn't hold on any longer. Some of them fell into the forest, while others sank into the lake and fell asleep. There should be many powerful beast cultivators in Yunzhe Lake. Can you make them fall asleep as well? Lin Feng asked. Of course, no problem. Dream Emperor nodded. Then, Dream Emperor continued to chant the incantation. This time, the incantation was much more complicated than before. After all, the creatures in the depths of Yunzhe Lake were further away from everyone. It was naturally more difficult to deal with them. The methods of the Great Dream Emperor Lord could be described as miraculous. After the Great Dream Emperor Lord finished his incantation, the creatures inside the Cloud Pool Lake all fell asleep. This method was indeed powerful, but this was the innate talent of the Great Dream Emperor. Others couldn't be envious. It seemed that subduing the Great Dream Emperor was indeed an extremely crucial step. Young Master, we can now enter the depths of the Yunzhe Lake, but I didn't do anything to Monarch Yunzhe. It's too far away. Monarch Yunzhe's cultivation is too strong. I'm afraid he won't be able to sleep at such a distance. When we reach the Yunzhe Imperial Palace, I'll deal with Monarch Yunzhe. Dream Emperor said. All right. Lin Feng nodded and directly used the Tao of Space, using the Great Space Shift. Lin Feng directly swept up all the cultivators. Swoosh! With a flash of light, Lin Feng and the others disappeared without a trace. The next time they appeared, they were already outside Yunzhe Palace. Great Dream Monarch Lord began to cast a secret technique, hoping to put Monarch Yunzhe into a deep sleep, but he failed. Emperor Yunzhe was transformed from a divine beast, and had the bloodline of a divine beast protecting him. He directly sensed Dream Emperor's hypnosis. The hypnosis failed. He knows we're here. Dream Emperor looked at Lin Feng and said, "Attack!" shouted Lin Feng. With a wave of his hand, the door of Yunzhe Palace collapsed. Then Lin Feng and the others rushed into Yunzhe Palace. Dream Emperor, what is the meaning of this? Emperor Yunzhe looked at Dream Emperor with a gloomy expression. He didn't have any grudges with Dream Emperor. You're colluding. Soon, Dream Emperor saw Lin Feng and Emperor Juyan. Naturally, he recognized Lin Feng and Emperor Juyan. Lin Feng smiled and said, "Emperor Yunzhe, now, the Nine-Eyed Emperor Lord and Great Dream Emperor Lord have already submitted to me. I'll give you a chance. Take the initiative to submit to me, or be converted by me." Emperor Yunzhe's expression was gloomy, and he waved his hand. Numerous jade talismans appeared, and Monarch Yunzhe took them out. Rumble! The jade talismans exploded. Lin Feng and the others quickly moved back to avoid the explosion of the talisman. Lin Feng and the others quickly moved back to avoid the explosion. Monarch Yunzhe, on the other hand, quickly rushed outside in an attempt to escape. "Emperor Yunzhe, you won't be able to escape." The group chased after him. Lin Feng couldn't help but smile coldly. Lin Feng waved his hand, and countless runes were activated. The runes emitted a power that could distort time and space. These runes were originally Emperor Yunzhe's defensive formation, but now that Lin Feng was controlling them, Lin Feng had activated them and trapped Emperor Yunzhe. "Attack!" shouted Lin Feng. The group attacked Emperor Yunzhe together. Emperor Yunzhe used all his treasures and skills, but he only managed to block a few dozen attacks before he was defeated by Lin Feng and the others. "Submit to me, and you'll obtain eternal life." Chapter 3977. "Ah, you want to convert me? I won't let you succeed." Emperor Yunzhe roared and struggled, but he couldn't resist Lin Feng's conversion. Lin Feng's control of the Great Tao was too strong, especially the Great Purification Technique. Lin Feng had cultivated it to the point of perfection. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens to resist such a powerful divine ability. Now, it's no longer a matter of whether you let me succeed or not. Instead, it's a matter of you being unable to resist my purification. Lin Feng looked at Emperor Yunzhe indifferently. The power of great purification made it difficult for Emperor Yunzhe to resist Lin Feng's conversion. In the end, the great power of purification invaded Monarch Yunzhe's soul, and he no longer struggled. His eyes were filled with reverence. "Yunzhe, greetings, master." Emperor Yunzhe bowed to Lin Feng. "Ha ha ha ha. Great, Emperor Yunzhe. You'll definitely soar in the future if you follow me." Lin Feng couldn't help but laugh. Next, Lin Feng integrated the power under Emperor Yunzhe's control. Emperor Yunzhe had a total of 23 sage emperors under him. These sage emperors were the ones Lin Feng valued. Lin Feng quickly asked Emperor Yunzhe to gather these people, and they all swore loyalty to Lin Feng. Lin Feng then led them to the Bloodwing Emperor's territory. 2 days later, they arrived at the Bloodwing Emperor's territory. At this moment, it was still daytime. However, the Great Dream Emperor's methods were extraordinary. He could hypnotize people regardless of day or night. The cultivators under the Bloodwing Emperor's command all fell asleep. The Bloodwing Emperor's methods were extremely shocking. It was too difficult to make the Bloodwing Emperor fall into a slumber. It wasn't difficult for the Great Dream Emperor to enter the Bloodwing Emperor's dreamscape, but Lin Feng didn't want to wait any longer. They surrounded the Bloodwing Emperor Lord's Bloodwing Emperor Hall. The Bloodwing Emperor was naturally alarmed. When he saw so many people coming together, his expression became extremely gloomy. Great Dream Empress, you've come here and hypnotized my subordinates. What exactly do you want? The Bloodwing Emperor Lord asked in a deep voice. Great Dream Monarch Lord said, Bloodwing Monarch, my young master intends to recruit you. Coming here this time. I'm here to recruit you. Your young master? When did you become someone else's slave? The Bloodwing Emperor Lord's expression changed slightly. The Great Dream Emperor Lord was a terrifying existence. Now that he had been subdued by someone, this was no small matter. Furthermore, the most hair-raising thing was the presence of Emperor Juyin, Emperor Yunzhe, Linfeng, and the three-headed viper. These were all terrifying existences. Could they all be subordinates of that mysterious young master? Linfeng coughed dryly and said, Ahem, the person that the Great Dream Emperor is talking about is me. What? It's you? The Bloodwing Emperor Lord's face was instantly filled with shock. He had not expected Linfeng to be the Great Dream Emperor Lord's master. Wasn't this too unbelievable? Even though Linfeng had killed Imperial leader Ing long before, Linfeng had killed him. In the Bloodwing Emperor Lord's opinion, the difference in strength between Emperor Ing long and the Great Dream Emperor Lord was like heaven and earth. How had Linfeng subdued the Great Dream Emperor Lord? The Bloodwing Emperor Lord could not figure it out. Moreover, the Bloodwing Emperor Lord realized that Emperor Juyin, Emperor Yunzhe, and the three-headed viper were very respectful to Linfeng. Could it be Emperor Juyin, Emperor Yunzhe, and the three-headed viper had all been subdued by Linfeng? It was a young cultivator of the human race. Subduing for Emperor Lords? This kind of thing was really like seeing a ghost. Linfeng looked at the Bloodwing Emperor Lord and said, Bloodwing Emperor Lord, make an oath now. Swear allegiance to me. In the future, I will naturally not treat you unfairly. If you don't know what's good for you, then I can only edify you. The Bloodwing Emperor Lord naturally knew the meaning of the word edify. He naturally did not want to be edified by Linfeng. If he was edified by Linfeng, when the time came, he would completely become Linfeng's slave and lose himself. The Bloodwing Emperor Lord's expression was uncertain. Linfeng did not make a move immediately. He planned to give the Bloodwing Emperor Lord some time to think. All right, I, Bloodwing, am willing to recognize you as my master. The Bloodwing Emperor Lord gritted his teeth and finally decided to submit to Linfeng. The situation in front of him, to him, there was no other choice. Linfeng had successfully subdued the Bloodwing Emperor Lord. After a short rest, the group headed to the divine Monkey Emperor's territory. Linfeng had subdued the divine Monkey Great Imperial Emperor with similar methods. Then, they headed to the Great Rock Emperor's territory. The Great Rock Emperor's subordinates were all hypnotized by the Great Dream Emperor and fell into a deep sleep. The Great Rock Emperor resisted the hypnosis. Linfeng and the rest surrounded the Great Rock Emperor. Great Rock Emperor, submit to me. I guarantee that you will recreate the supreme glory of your Great Rock ancestors in the future. Linfeng looked at the Great Rock Emperor and said, the Great Rock Emperor said, I'm used to being free. I don't intend to serve anyone. Humph, Great Rock Emperor, my master is trying to persuade you. He promises great benefits. Don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Emperor Juyin said coldly. The Great Rock Emperor said indifferently, you want to be a slave, but I don't want to be a slave. Don't force your thoughts on me. Great Rock Emperor, since you're so stubborn, I can only edify you. Linfeng said indifferently. He waved his hand. Emperor Juyin, Great Dream Emperor, Emperor Yunzei, Divine Monkey Emperor, Blood Wing Emperor, Three-Headed Viper. The 6 Emperor-level experts all rushed towards Emperor Juyin. You guys are indeed powerful, but if I want to leave, you can't keep me here. The Great Rock Emperor sneered. As soon as he finished speaking, the space around the Great Rock Emperor began to distort. Layers of space appeared and overlapped with each other. The Great Dream Emperor and the other 6 Emperor-level experts were all blocked outside by the overlapping space. They couldn't get close to the Great Rock Emperor at all. This was the Tao of space that the Great Rock Emperor controlled. The Great Rock Emperor's voice came out. "Kid, I will tell the Black Turtle Ancestor about your matter. The Black Turtle Ancestor has a powerful network. When the time comes, the Black Turtle Ancestor will deal with you." Tell the Black Turtle Ancestor? I'm afraid you won't have the chance. Lin Feng couldn't help but sneer. He took a step forward and instantly passed through the overlapping space, arriving in front of the Great Rock Emperor. Next, Lin Feng punched towards the Great Rock Emperor. The Great Rock Emperor didn't expect Lin Feng to be able to pass through the overlapping space and arrive beside him. He hastily attacked and exchanged a punch with Lin Feng. Next, Chapter 3978. Not good. Emperor Dapeng's expression turned ugly. He had just been sent flying when he was struck by a thunderous attack. The 6 emperors had been waiting for a long time. When Emperor Dapeng was sent flying by Lin Feng, their attacks were already ready. Emperor Dapeng quickly executed a powerful mystique to block the attacks. However, the Great Rock Emperor was still sent flying. No matter how powerful he was, he couldn't block the attacks of so many people. Emperor Dapeng and the other suppressed Emperor Dapeng. Lin Feng walked out of the overlapping void and looked at Emperor Dapeng with a smile. "Emperor Dapeng, I gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it. Don't blame me. I'm willing to submit to you, sir. Please give me another chance." Emperor Dapeng begged for mercy. He didn't want to be converted, but Lin Feng didn't intend to give him another chance. "There's only one chance, and you have already missed it." Lin Feng looked at Emperor Dapeng indifferently. Then he tapped on Emperor Dapeng's forehead. A powerful conversion force surged into Emperor Dapeng's mind. Emperor Dapeng struggled for a while, but he was converted by Lin Feng in the end. "Greetings, sir." Emperor Dapeng bowed to Lin Feng. "You may rise." Lin Feng waved his hand. Lin Feng now had 7 Emperor-level experts under his command. As for Sage Emperor-level experts, there were more than 150 of them. In the ancient gloomy forest, only Ancestor Xian Gui hadn't been subdued. Ancestor Xian Gui was the strongest existence. He used to be the absolute overlord of the ancient gloomy forest. If they wanted to deal with this old thing, they couldn't be so blind. Ancestor Xian Gui is a lecherous man. We can set up a formation first and use a honey trap to lure him out of Turtle Deity Island. We can deal with him outside. Emperor Juyin said, "That's a good idea, but who should we send to lure Ancestor Xian Gui out?" Lin Feng couldn't help but raise his eyebrows slightly. Monarch Yunzei said, "Young master, I have a trusted subordinate here. She's a beautiful snake, and every move she makes can charm everyone. Why don't we send her?" "Oh, tell her to come see me," Lin Feng said. "Yes." Monarch Yunzei quickly passed down the order. Not long after, the snake woman arrived. This snake woman called herself Demon Snake Fairy. Her figure was graceful, and she was charming. She had a beautiful face that could charm all living things. With just a glance at this woman, one would be deeply attracted to her. This snake woman didn't even know why she had come here. After seeing so many Emperor-level experts, She couldn't help but feel nervous. This servant greets, "Young master." Demonic snake fairy hurriedly bowed to Lin Feng. In the eyes of the demonic snake fairy, Lin Feng was filled with mystery. Other than mystery, there was also endless majesty. So many emperor-level experts had been subdued by Lin Feng. It was unbelievable. Lin Feng said, "Demonic snake fairy, raise your head and let me take a good look at you." Hearing this, the demonic snake fairy was overjoyed. She had thought that Lin Feng was interested in her because of her beauty. If she followed Lin Feng, then from then on, she would become a phoenix and soar into the sky. Thinking of this, the demonic snake fairy was so excited that her delicate body trembled slightly. The demonic snake fairy raised her head. Lin Feng carefully looked at the demonic snake fairy. She was indeed a charming beauty. There would be no problem with her completing the mission. That old man ancestor Xian Gui was old, but not old at heart. Lin Feng said, "I'll give you a mission now. Go to Turtle Deity Island and seduce ancestor Xian Gui. Then lure him to the mountain range 100 miles northwest of Turtle Deity Island. If you can complete this mission, there will be a great reward." Hearing Lin Feng's words, the demonic snake fairy felt a little disappointed. She had thought that Lin Feng had taken a fancy to her. Only now did she know that Lin Feng didn't take a fancy to her. He had only given her a mission. The demonic snake fairy naturally knew that Lin Feng wanted to subdue all the emperor lords in the ancient gloomy forest. Now, the 6 emperor lords had already been subdued by Lin Feng. Only ancestor Xian Gui had not been subdued by Lin Feng. If she subdued ancestor Xian Gui, then the ancient gloomy forest would completely become Lin Feng's territory. If she could really lure ancestor Xian Gui out this time, it would definitely be a great merit. Moreover, this Lin Gongzi had also said that there would be a great reward. Thinking of this, the demonic snake fairy's disappointed mood was swept away. She hurriedly said, "Yes, this servant will definitely complete young master's mission." Lin Feng said, "When the time comes, someone will inform you when to lure ancestor Xian Gui out. Let's take action now. Demonic snake fairy, you go to Turtle Deity Island. The rest of you follow me to the agreed mountain range to set up the array." "Yes, young master." Everyone obeyed. Lin Feng and the rest arrived at the nameless mountain range. Then Lin Feng began to set up the array. He planned to set up 8 array cores. The cores of these 8 array cores were each guarded by a position of the innate 8 trigrams diagram. Then Lin Feng, the 3-headed viper, Emperor Juyan, Great Dream Emperor Lord, Bloodwing Emperor Lord, Great Rock Emperor Lord, Cloud Pool Emperor Lord, Divine Monkey Emperor Lord respectively guarded the 8 array cores. At the same time, Lin Feng set up the Immortal Execution Array, Xian Pin Array, and dozens of other offensive arrays on top of the 8 trigrams diagram. Although ancestor Xian Gui was powerful, but Lin Feng and the rest worked together with the help of many holy emperors. Combined with such a powerful array, it was not impossible to suppress ancestor Xian Gui. Lin Feng spent half a month to finish setting up the array. After the array was set up, Lin Feng ordered Bloodwing Emperor Lord to personally contact Demon Snake Fairy. Let Demon Snake Fairy take action. Every Emperor Lord would have a few holy Emperor-level experts to help them control the array. Not long after, Bloodwing Emperor Lord returned. "Young Master, I've already sent the message to Demon Snake Fairy. I reckon that it won't be long before Demon Snake Fairy will lure that old fogey ancestor Xian Gui over." Bloodwing Emperor Lord said, "All right, return to your position." Lin Feng said, "Yes, young master." The Bloodwing Emperor replied. He then returned to his position. 2 hours later, as expected, Demon Snake Fairy and ancestor Xian Gui flew over from afar. During this period of time, Demon Snake Fairy had completely captivated ancestor Xian Gui. Today, the Demon Snake Fairy told the Black Turtle ancestor that she had found an immortal medicine some time ago. She had been waiting for the immortal medicine to mature before she went to pick it. Now, the immortal medicine should have matured. However, the immortal medicine was guarded by a powerful vicious beast. She could not defeat the vicious beast alone. Then, Demon Snake Fairy asked Ancestor Xian Gui for help. Ancestor Xian Gui agreed, without even thinking. The two of them entered the mountain range. Chapter 39:79. Swoosh. After entering the formation, Demon Snake Fairy quickly flew into the distance. In the blink of an eye, she had disappeared. Patriarch Black Turtle did not stop Demon Snake Fairy. He narrowed his eyes and said, "This is interesting. So many of you have set up a formation here. What are you trying to do to me?" The ancestor of the Black Tortoise was extremely strong. He had surprisingly sensed Lin Feng and the others. Lin Feng and the others had hidden themselves very well. They did not show themselves at all. Yet they were still discovered. This showed how powerful Patriarch Black Turtle was. Lin Feng said with a smile, "Patriarch Black Turtle," as expected of the strongest existence in the ancient forest of gloom. "There is only one reason for me to lure you here." "What is it?" Patriarch Black Turtle asked. Lin Feng smiled and said, "I plan to subdue Patriarch Black Turtle for my use. Does the Black Turtle Patriarch agree?" "You want to subdue me? I'm sorry. I've always been an idle person. I have no interest in joining anyone," Patriarch Black Turtle said. "Perhaps you have no other choice. Patriarch Black Turtle, I owe you a favor. You helped me take care of the Bai sisters. So, if you take the initiative to join me, naturally, I will think highly of you," Lin Feng said. Patriarch Black Turtle said calmly, "I don't need others to think highly of me. I'm living a carefree life now." Lin Feng said, "The world has changed. Patriarch Black Turtle, your cultivation base may be extraordinary, but it will be harder than ascending to heaven if you want to survive this calamity. Only by joining me and being under my protection will you be able to survive. Otherwise, only death awaits you." Patriarch Black Turtle said calmly, "If I die, then I die. I've lived enough anyway." Lin Feng rolled his eyes. This old turtle was really a pain in the ass. He was stubborn. Lin Feng said, "If that's the case, then I have no choice but to attack you. Attack." Lin Feng waved his hand and gave the order. In an instant, everyone's powers were channeled into the formation. These formations, they were all activated. Meanwhile, large amounts of immortal stones began to burn. After the immortal stones were burned, all of their energy was poured into the array. It provided powerful energy for the operation of the formation. Boom, boom. A terrifying wave of energy surged out. One by one, the great formations unleashed extremely powerful attacks. The tyrannical attacks unleashed by the formations were simply earth-shattering as they blasted towards Ancestor Xian Gui. Ancestor Xian Gui did not dare to be careless in the face of such a powerful attack. The Black Tortoise ancestor waved his hand. Suddenly, a huge hammer appeared in the Black Tortoise ancestor's hand. That giant hammer was called the Hammer of Heaven. Its power was extremely terrifying. Once it was activated, it was said that it could destroy the heavens. That's how the Hammer of Heaven got its name. The Black Tortoise Patriarch held the hammer of heaven in his hand and smashed it in all directions. Bang! A hammer smashed through the sky. Bang! He smashed the ground with his hammer. Bang! Shattering an immortal with a single hammer strike. Bang! Destroying a god with a single hammer strike. The power of the hammer of heaven erupted. It was truly powerful to the extreme, causing people to be shocked and moved. Even the void was smashed, and the attacks of many great formations were all broken by the hammer of heaven. Powerful, powerful, powerful. It was really too powerful. The hammer of heaven, coupled with an expert like Ancestor Xian Gui, could unleash unimaginable power. Now, the power of the hammer of heaven made Lin Feng and the others feel extremely shocked. Kid, even if you gathered so many emperors to deal with me, I'm afraid you're still far from it. Ancestor Xian Gui laughed loudly. Bang, bang, bang. Following that, Ancestor Xian Gui smashed out 4 more times in a row. The great formation was broken by Ancestor Xian Gui. Then, Ancestor Xian Gui rushed out of the great formation. This old man floated in midair and looked in the direction of Demon Snake Fairy. He shouted at Demon Snake Fairy, "Demon Snake Fairy, your figure is great. You're so beautiful. If you've thought it through, you're welcome to come to Turtle Deity Island to find me again." After Ancestor Xian Gui finished speaking, he quickly rushed into the distance and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Lin Feng and the others flew out of the great formation. Emperor Juyan asked, "Young master, should we chase after him?" Lin Feng said, "Forget it. This Ancestor Xian Gui is too powerful. If we want to take him down, I'm afraid we'll lose a lot of people. That's not worth it. Let him be. As long as he doesn't get in our way, we don't need to care about him." "Yes," Emperor Juyan and the others answered. Soon, a large palace was built in the gloomy ancient forest. The main palace was called the Supreme Palace. This was Lin Feng's place of cultivation. The great dream Emperor Lord's primordial Yin was still there. The primordial Yin of an expert of this level would definitely have unimaginable uses. If he could obtain this primordial Yin, his cultivation would definitely improve by leaps and bounds. Lin Feng planned to dual cultivate with the Great Dream Emperor Lord. The Great Dream Emperor Lord had long known that such a day would come. Therefore, she was already mentally prepared. After cultivating, Lin Feng and the Great Dream Emperor Lord both benefited greatly. The two of them sat down cross-legged and began to refine the yin and yang energy in their bodies. As the majestic energy was absorbed by Lin Feng, Lin Feng's cultivation level also began to rise steadily. Not long after, Lin Feng's cultivation level rose to the 3rd level of the Emperor realm. Lin Feng's face lit up with joy. As expected of the Great Dream Emperor's primordial yin, it was really too powerful. It actually raised his cultivation level by 2 levels. Lin Feng glanced at the Great Dream Emperor Lord. She was still cultivating. Lin Feng did not disturb her. After Lin Feng finished cultivating, Meng Tianli and the others from the Genu Immortal sect brought the jade token that released the endless ghost sand and came to the Eastern Emperor Bell. The Eastern Emperor Bell floated in midair. Golden light surged, and the Eastern Emperor Bell transformed into a middle-aged cultivator in a golden robe. "Did you bring the token?" The Eastern Emperor Bell, transformed into a cultivator, asked. "Of course," Meng Tianli said. Light flashed in his hand, and a jade token appeared. The middle-aged man that was transformed from the Eastern Emperor Bell looked at the jade token with a burning gaze. The other living beings in the endless ghost sand also looked at the jade tablet with excitement. "Everyone, please don't act rashly. If you dare to act rashly, I'll have to destroy this jade token. If that's the case, the Lord will never be able to come out, Meng Tianli threatened. Chapter 3980. The middle-aged man from the Eastern Emperor Bel personally led a group of people to meet the Lord. Apart from Meng Tianli and the others from the Genu Immortal sect, there were also some allies from the Genu Immortal sect. For example, the experts from the Godly Saber sect and the Black Fog tribe. These major forces had joined forces to reap some benefits. Lin Feng did not know the situation here. If he did, he would probably scold Meng Bingling. Previously, in order to win his trust, this woman lied to Lin Feng and said that she would bring the jade pendant back to the tribe and destroy it. Lin Feng thought that Meng Bingling was a woman who knew the big picture. However, he later found out that it was all a lie. Now that these people had brought the jade pendant to meet the Lord of the Endless Ghost Sand, it seemed that the Lord of the Endless Ghost Sand was about to be released. It was hard to imagine what would happen after the Lord of the Endless Ghost Sand was released. The group of people came to the deepest abyss of the Endless Ghost Sand. They did not enter the abyss, but stopped outside. The middle-aged man that was transformed from the Eastern Emperor Bel bowed and said, "My lord, the person with the token has arrived. We want to meet the Lord." Boom. At this moment, endless demonic light rushed out from the abyss. Within the demonic light, a blurry figure appeared. The figure was graceful and moving. It was actually a woman. The Endless Ghost Sand, that peerless and terrifying lord, was actually a woman. This was too inconceivable. The woman's figure was very illusory. It was obvious that it was just a shadow and not her real body. "What do you want?" The woman looked at Meng Tianli and the others. Her voice was very ethereal and pleasant to the ears. It was hard to imagine that such an existence was the Lord of the Endless Ghost Sand. No one would believe it if they said it out loud. "I heard that the Lord of the Endless Ghost Sand has the 3,000 secret techniques of ascension. We want a few secret techniques of ascension." Meng Tianli said, "Of course, I can teach you some secret techniques of ascension now, but you have to give me the jade pendant." The woman said, We have to get the secret techniques of ascension first, then leave the Endless Ghost Sand before we can give you the jade pendant." Meng Tianli said, "It seems like you don't believe me." "I won't lie to you," the woman said. "You are the master of the boundless ghost sand. With how powerful you are, it's only natural that you would disdain lying to us. However, it's better to be careful. There's nothing wrong with being careful." Meng Tianli continued, "You're right. All right, I'll agree to your request. Tianli and the others." Meng Tianli and the others of the Endless Ghost Sand were the Lord of the Endless Ghost Sand to be so of the Endless Ghost Sand. These people couldn't help but mutter in their hearts. Could it be that because they had been imprisoned for too long, they couldn't wait to get out of here? Bingling Emperor Jades, God. And the Meng Tu's Ghost Yi, Sex Group Lord, S Sect. Meng Sect Ming, Demon Sex Ming Sect, S. Meng Tianli and the others took a closer look, and their eyes lit up. S2s. S of Ascension. Ha 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 ha. We finally obtained the Ascension technique. Meng Tianli and the others burst out laughing. They were extremely excited. Anyone who obtained the Ascension technique would be as excited as Meng Tianli and the others. "You can leave now," the woman said. Meng Tianli said, Apart from the Ascension technique, we have something else that we would like to take a look at." The middle-aged man from the Eastern Emperor Bel said, angrily, "You should be satisfied after obtaining something. A man who is never content is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. Don't go overboard." The woman waved her hand, indicating for the middle-aged cultivator to calm down. She then looked at Meng Tianli and the others and asked, "What else do you want to take a look at?" Meng Tianli said, "I heard that before you were sealed, you were an existence that shocked both ancient and modern times. You even entered the world inside the door of everlasting life and obtained the art of everlasting life. I wonder if the rumor is true?" The woman said, "It's true. I obtained the art of everlasting life, but the art of everlasting life is both real and fake. Even I can't tell what's real and what's fake." "Hee, we don't care if it's real or fake. We just want to take a look at it. Pass the art of everlasting life to us," Meng Tianli said. The woman ran her fingers through her hair and said, "You guys are really pushing your luck." "Master, let me kill these people," the middle-aged man from the Eastern Emperor Bell said. "Humph, if your excellency dares to act rashly, then I can destroy this token at any time," Meng Tianli said coldly. He had been holding the jade token in his hand, so he was fearless. The middle-aged man from the Eastern Emperor Bell's face darkened. He was intimidated by Meng Tianli's threat. He did not dare to act recklessly. Besides, his master did not give any orders. "The art of everlasting life. I can't let you take a look at it," the woman said. "If that's the case, we won't give you the jade token." Meng Tianli threatened, "You're not keeping your promise." The woman raised her eyebrows and said, "You've only fulfilled part of our request, not all of it. How can you say that we're not keeping our promise?" Meng Tianli sneered. "I haven't fought for a long time," the woman said. After she said that, she stretched out her hand and pointed at the void. Then, the bodies of Meng Tianli and the others were directly imprisoned. Meng Tianli and the others didn't even have the ability to move. Although the woman was just a shadow, she was unimaginably terrifying. Meng Tianli and the others were terrified. "Mercy, mercy," you said. "You'll let us go." Meng Tianli and the others begged for mercy. The woman said, "I did say that I'll let you go. Moreover, I always keep my words. Do you think that I can't do anything to you? Actually, I'm grateful that you found this jade token. That's why I agreed to cooperate with you. However, you guys don't know what's good for you. You're pushing your luck. We're wrong. We'll leave now." Meng Tianli and the others begged for mercy. "Go and repent in hell," the woman said coldly. A demonic light flashed in her eyes. Then, Meng Tianli and the others' bodies burned. In the blink of an eye, the group of experts was reduced to ashes, and the jade tablet flew towards the woman. Chapter 3981. The woman toyed with the jade pendant, a smile appearing on her face. This jade pendant was the key to her escape. Now, she had finally obtained this jade pendant. This also meant that she was finally going to break free. She was about to break free. The woman couldn't help but feel excited. After being suppressed for so many years, she could finally see the light of day again. "Congratulations, Master. You're about to break free from the seal." The middle-aged man transformed from the Eastern Emperor Bell immediately congratulated the woman. He. The woman, on the other hand, let out a series of ethereal and pleasant laughter. Next, she flew back into the abyss. The Dong Wang Bell transformed into a middle-aged man and waited outside. He knew the master was about to break free. He needed some time. That was why he was waiting here. Meanwhile, the Genu Immortal Sect and the other factions were in a state of panic because the Yuan spirit lamps of those who had gone to the endless ghost sands had all shattered. This meant they had all died. Is the master of the endless ghost sands about to come out? Someone asked worriedly. I don't think so. Perhaps both sides suffered great losses. Before they died, they must have destroyed the jade pendant. They had the time to do so, someone else said. The others nodded. For now, They could only hope that this was the result. Within the Supreme Palace, Lin Feng felt his eyelids twitching. He frowned slightly, feeling an inexplicable pressure in his heart. He didn't know what the reason was. "I'm afraid something has happened." Lin Feng stood up, hands behind his back, and walked out of the Supreme Palace. Then he looked into the distance. Lin Feng looked in the direction of the endless ghost sands. Is the master of the endless ghost sands about to come out? Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. At the current stage, only the master of the endless ghost sands would make him feel so pressured. If the master of the endless ghost sands really came out, it would be a huge problem. Moreover, the ancient gloomy forest was so close to the endless ghost sands. Once the master of the endless ghost sands came out, the living beings of the endless ghost sands might enter the ancient gloomy forest. Previously, because they were afraid of the ancient gloomy forest's emperors, the living beings of the endless ghost sands wouldn't easily enter the forest. However, with the birth of the boundless ghost sand lord, they would no longer have any scruples. If they had no scruples, those terrifying existences would naturally be able to enter the dark, ancient forest unscrupulously and occupy it. Lin Feng felt that there was a need to quickly convert Lady Whitesnake. If the endless ghost sand lord really came out, staying in the dark ancient forest would no longer be safe. But when the time came, he could go to the cloud dreamy ancient forest where Lady Whitesnake lived. There were a few emperor lords in the dreamy cloud forest as well. When the time came, he would be able to subdue those few emperor lords as well and increase his own strength by a large margin. Lin Feng returned to the Supreme Hall. He took out the creation gourd and said, "Lady Whitesnake, I'll give you one last chance. Now that you've chosen to submit to me, if you don't know what's good for you, then I can only convert you and make you my slave." Hearing this, Lady Whitesnake's expression darkened. She sneered and said, "At most, we'll fight to the death. The fish won't die, and the net won't break." Lin Feng said indifferently as he began to convert Lady Whitesnake. During this period of time, Lady Whitesnake had to resist the creation gourd's refining power. Hence, her magical energy consumption was extremely high. Therefore, now was the best time to convert Lady Whitesnake. The powerful refining power continuously flowed into the creation gourd and enveloped Lady Whitesnake. The power of purification gradually invaded Lady Whitesnake's mind in an attempt to purify her. However, Lady Whitesnake's methods were extremely extraordinary. Even though her magical energy was severely depleted, her soul defense was still quite stable. "Humph! Don't think that I don't have a way to deal with you. If that's what you think, then you're gravely mistaken." Lin Feng could not help but snort coldly. As soon as he finished speaking, Luya's star-gazing chart flew out and attacked Lady Whitesnake's soul. Lin Feng used Luya's star-gazing chart to launch an extremely fierce attack on Lady Whitesnake's soul. The power of Luya's star-gazing chart was incomparably powerful. As Lin Feng's cultivation level increased, his soul power had been increasing greatly. The power of Luya's star-gazing chart was naturally even more powerful. Now, the power of Luya's star-gazing chart was unimaginable. Under the fierce attack of Luya's star-gazing chart, Lady Whitesnake's soul defense system was gradually collapsing. No, 3 days later, Lady Whitesnake let out a cry of horror and unwillingness. This was because her soul defense system had been completely destroyed. Lady Whitesnake, she could no longer resist Lin Feng's great purification. The powerful refining power continuously flowed into Lady Whitesnake's soul. At first, Lady Whitesnake could still struggle. However, as time passed, Lady Whitesnake was gradually unable to struggle because the great power of purification was simply too domineering. In the end, Lady Whitesnake was successfully converted by Lin Feng. Swoosh! With a flash of light, Lady White Snake flew out of the creation gourd. "Young master," Lady White Snake greeted Lin Feng. "Ha ha ha ha. You may dispense with the formalities." After converting Lady White Snake, Lin Feng was in a good mood. He could not help but laugh loudly. Lady White Snake stood up. Lin Feng said, "Rest for a few days and recuperate your body." "Thank you, young master." Lady White Snake replied. At the same time, in the depths of the endless ghost sand, in the abyss where the Lord was suppressed, demonic light filled the sky. Waves of terrifying aura spread out from the abyss. It was so powerful that the middle-aged man transformed by the Eastern Emperor Bel felt the terrifying aura. He could not help but feel extremely shocked. The reason for that was because that aura was simply too frightening. It was so powerful. It was so powerful that one could not help but be shocked. As expected of an existence that can contend with the Lord of Gods, the middle-aged man transformed by the Eastern Emperor Bel retreated far away and then took a deep breath. Rumble! Rumble! The ground shook violently. In the abyss, it seemed as if something was collapsing. Such a huge commotion in the endless ghost sand naturally alarmed all the living beings in the endless ghost sand. The Lord is about to be born. The terrifying living beings in the endless ghost sand revealed extremely excited expressions. Swoosh! At this moment, in the abyss where demonic aura was surging, a woman in a black gauze dress rushed out. That woman was the Lord of the endless ghost sand. After being suppressed for countless years, the Lord of the endless ghost sand. Chapter 3982. Congratulations on escaping, my lord. Upon seeing the woman, the middle-aged man from the Eastern Emperor Bel hurriedly bowed at her. Not bad, not bad. Although it's time to be born, it's already the age of chaos. I managed to come out in time. If I hadn't come out in time, the great calamity would have descended. Death would have been the only way out. The woman said as she looked at her hands and body. She greedily breathed in the air that belonged to freedom in the world. That woman was very powerful. She was so powerful that she was able to change the color of the sky. A large number of living beings swarmed out of the ghost sand. They bowed at the woman and said, "Greetings, my lord. You may dispense with the formalities." The woman smiled faintly. Then she looked at Huangfu Qingtian and raised her eyebrows slightly. Panga's successor? Huangfu Qingtian walked out and quickly said, "Yes, my lord. This junior has obtained Panga's legacy." Ha! It seems like it's only a part of the orthodoxy, but it's not bad. Panga's orthodoxy might not be the strongest orthodoxy in the world, but it's still one of the top orthodoxies. The woman said. Huangfu Qingtian did not dare to interrupt. He stood there and listened quietly. "My lord, you've recovered. Next, shall we attack the heavenly sage, great world?" The middle-aged man from the Eastern Emperor Bel asked. "Heavenly sage, great world. This place is quite interesting. Those who obey me will prosper, and those who oppose me will perish. Let's start from Bitter Cold Prefecture." The woman smiled faintly and said, "You all go and deal with this matter. I'll go out and take a look at this world." Understood. The others replied. The woman vanished into thin air. No one knew where she went. In the following period of time, the Bitterhan province fell into great chaos. First, the current king of the divine nation of despair suddenly passed the throne to the eldest princess, Dugu Weiyang. Dugu Weiyang took control of the divine nation of despair's imperial power and became the empress. As for the princes who had competed with the eldest princess for the throne, they had all been executed by Dugu Weiyang. The imperial family had no familial ties. Even if they were siblings, they would be killed without hesitation. They were merciless. In addition, the creatures in the endless ghost sand began to invade the bitter cold state. A large number of forces were destroyed, and only a few remained unscathed. The forces that hadn't been destroyed were all forces that had pledged allegiance to never-ending Empress. Soon, news spread that even the hell-suppressing immortal sect and several other great powers had been wiped out, suffering heavy casualties. Only a few people managed to escape. It's said that the Genu immortal sect and a few other factions have chosen to surrender, but the beings in the endless ghost sand refuse to accept their surrender. Why is this happening? I heard that the people from the Hell Genu immortal sect obtained the Jade Medallion to release the Boundless Ghost Sen Lord. They even went to the Boundless Ghost Sen Lord with a group of allies. They must have angered the Boundless Ghost Sen Lord. He's really courting death. I wonder if the Imperial City is still safe. Will we also suffer a calamity? Don't be afraid. I heard that never-ending Empress obtained some legacies from the Boundless Ghost Sen Lord. She's equivalent to half a disciple of the Boundless Ghost Sen Lord. That's why the creatures in the endless ghost sand won't come to the Imperial City. No wonder the monarch abdicated suddenly and passed the throne to never-ending Empress. It seems like there's a lot going on here. Sure, this is a taboo topic. Don't talk about it too much, or you'll get into trouble. Many people in the Imperial City were discussing the recent events. Lin Feng was already planning to leave the ancient gloomy forest because the creatures in the endless ghost sand had begun to enter the forest. Therefore, they had to retreat. If they waited until the main force of the endless ghost sand arrived, they would die without a grave. Most importantly, if the master of the boundless ghost sand were to come, then it would be a tragedy. When the time came, who could be a match for that terrifying existence? Perhaps Senior Savage could compete with him. But the problem was that Savage had already left. Lin Feng and the others quickly left the ancient gloomy forest. Along the way, they saw a lot of battles. It was extremely tragic. Lin Feng and the others were also attacked by some creatures in the endless ghost sand. It's you. Someone recognized Lin Feng's identity. It was actually the extremely ugly woman whose body was rotten. This woman's cultivation was extremely terrifying. Lin Feng had experienced this woman's strength before. However, this woman had now become an extremely beautiful woman. She had a strong sense of vanity. She didn't want to show her true face to others, so she would often transform into a peerless beauty. Damn, you're still alive. You're so ugly. You actually have the courage to live on. You're really a weirdo. Lin Feng grinned and said, "I'll kill you." The woman roared furiously. She was so angry at Lin Feng that her entire body was trembling. When her emotions fluctuated more intensely, it seemed that she couldn't maintain her transformation. Now, she had once again turned into an extremely ugly appearance. Her body was emitting a stench. It was extremely terrifying. "Brat, you can go to hell now." The woman screamed shrilly and charged at Lin Feng. In the distance, evil energy churned as many terrifying creatures charged out from the endless ghost sand. "Rotten woman, don't kill him. Capture him and send him to the master. The master must want to see this brat." The middle-aged man transformed from the Eastern Emperor Bell flew over and sneered. "Damn, the master wants to see me? Why does he want to see me? I don't even know this master. Could it be that he's angry at me because of the master of gods?" Lin Feng couldn't help but feel depressed. The master of gods had sealed this master back then, so it was reasonable for the master to vent his anger on the master's descendant. A large number of terrifying creatures charged at Lin Feng. "You guys leave first. I'll meet up with you at Dream Cloud Forest later." Lin Feng said in a low voice. Then he flew into the distance. These people's target was him. It would be easier to shake them off if he acted alone. Besides, Great Dream and the rest could also escape quickly. If they stayed together, it would be even more troublesome. At that time, it would be difficult to shake off these terrifying creatures. Once they were surrounded, they would inevitably suffer heavy casualties. It hadn't been easy to subdue these experts. How could he bear to watch them die before he achieved his goal? Therefore, it was best for them to split up. Chase. The terrifying creatures in the endless ghost sand chased after Lin Feng. As expected, they ignored Great Dream and the rest. Let's return to Dream Cloud Forest first and gather the experts there. We'll wait for the young master's arrival, Lady Whitesnake said. All right. Chapter 3983. Lin Feng continued running. Behind him, a group of terrifying beings chased after him. *CK, why are you chasing after me? I don't even know your master. Lin Feng yelled in frustration. The middle-aged man that was transformed from the Eastern Emperor Bell sneered and said, You are the descendant of the Sovereign Emperor clan. The Lord of Gods is your ancestor. The Lord of Gods has been suppressed by the Lord of Gods for so many years. Now that your ancestor has been dead for so many years, it is impossible for the Lord to take revenge even if he wants to. However, there is a saying that a son should pay for his father's debt. *CK, your whole family. How many years has it been? Your master must have forgotten about it. Instead, it's you bunch of slaves who are still thinking about it. Lin Feng cursed. The middle-aged man and the other cultivators transformed from the Donghuang Bell were all extremely terrifying existences. Moreover, they were all high and mighty. Lin Feng actually used the word slaves to describe them. This was simply the greatest insult to them. These beings were all filled with killing intent. Kid, let's see if you're still so cheap when we catch you. The middle-aged man's voice was cold. Cheap your whole family. Lin Feng cursed. The terrifying beings in the endless ghost sand no longer spoke. Instead, they sped up and chased after Lin Feng. Lin Feng increased his speed as much as he could, but it was too difficult for him to get rid of those people. Lin Feng did not dare to stop. He knew how powerful that ugly woman's cultivation was. Of course, the most terrifying one was not the ugly woman, but the middle-aged man transformed from the Eastern Emperor Bell. This guy probably had the power of an immortal. Even if he did not have the power of an immortal, he was probably infinitely close to it. It was simply impossible to fight against such an existence. The best course of action was to slip away and escape without a trace. If it wasn't for his speed being fast enough, he would have been caught up by this guy. When he passed by a mountain range, Lin Feng saw a woman standing on top of a mountain, looking in his direction. She was dressed in black. She was so beautiful that she could topple cities. Wow, a beauty! Lin Feng's eyes lit up slightly. To be able to see such a beauty here, it was truly fate that brought them together. However, Lin Feng soon began to wail in his heart. The terrifying creatures from the endless ghost sand were chasing after him. This was not the ideal place to meet this peerless beauty. Why are you standing there? Run! Lin Feng shouted at the woman, but that woman didn't move at all. She just kept looking at Lin Feng. Is he scared out of his wits? Lin Feng was speechless. She was a woman who had never seen the world. She was so frightened by the terrifying existences in the endless ghost sand that she couldn't think, speak, or move. Lin Feng swooped down and grabbed the woman's hand. Her hands were really soft. Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh with emotion. He pulled the woman and quickly left. In the end, they managed to escape from the terrifying existences within the endless ghost sand. Why did these fellows stop halfway through? Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. Was it because something else had happened? Was that why they had to deal with something else? Was that why they had let him go? Perhaps that was really possible. The woman didn't say anything. She just kept staring at Lin Feng. Why do you keep staring at me? Have you been attracted by my handsome appearance? Lin Feng asked the woman. The woman rolled her eyes. However, she was beautiful. Even the way she rolled her eyes was very charming. Let's hurry up and leave the bitter cold province. This isn't a place for humans. Now that master has appeared, he's most likely going to cause a huge mess. Let's part ways here. I'm going to run as well. I can't let that master find me. Otherwise, he'll probably skin me alive. Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. He thought about how this mysterious master had been imprisoned by his ancestors for countless years. Now that this guy had appeared, Lin Feng felt like crying. Why had this guy escaped? How great would it be if he was imprisoned forever? He wouldn't have to worry about that guy taking revenge on him. Lin Feng flew into the distance, but the woman chased after him. Why are you following me? Lin Feng asked. Then he sized up the woman and said, I admit that you're very beautiful, but a disaster is imminent. Let's go our separate ways. If fate wills it, we'll meet again in the future. Lin Feng didn't want to bring the woman along. Firstly, it was very dangerous for her to follow him. Secondly, it was because bringing this woman along would be a burden. It was better to split up. However, the woman clearly had no intention of leaving. She continued to follow Lin Feng. They were inseparable, and she didn't speak. Lin Feng felt helpless. Are you a mute? You're so beautiful, yet you're a mute? What a pity. Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh. My name is Lin Feng. What's your name? You can write your name on my hand. Lin Feng said. I'm Yueshen. The woman said. You can speak. Lin Feng widened his eyes. He had always thought that the woman couldn't speak. The woman said. I never said that I couldn't speak. Lin Feng thought about it carefully. It was true. The woman had never said that she couldn't speak. It was just that she hadn't spoken all this time. Therefore, Lin Feng mistakenly thought that she couldn't speak. Yueshen, this name is really nice. Goddess of the moon. And your temperament, it's simply a perfect match. Lin Feng said. Yueshen smiled faintly and didn't speak. Lin Feng asked, Why are you here? Passing by. The Yueshen said, Passing by? Where did you come from? Lin Feng asked, curiously. A very distant place. The Yueshen replied, Are you a space traveler? Lin Feng asked. The moon goddess said slowly, Perhaps the word homeless would be more appropriate to describe it. Lin Feng said, Wherever I am, there will be a home. How about this? I've decided to take you as my concubine. Lin Feng grabbed the Yueshen's lily-white hand as he spoke, but the Yueshen slapped him away. Io, you're murdering your own husband. Lin Feng wailed. At this moment, the Yueshen took out a large saber and slashed at Lin Feng. The consequence of speaking nonsense is being hacked to death by me. The Yueshen snorted coldly. What the hell? She's a tigress. Lin Feng immediately wailed. He had been deceived by the Yueshen's pure and charming appearance. The Yueshen was as quiet as a virgin, but when she moved, she was like a tigress. Chapter 3984. In the end, Lin Feng apologized to the moon god, and the chase ended. The moon god finally sheathed her machete. Lin Feng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You're such a beauty, yet you're carrying a machete with you, ready to slash anyone at any time. How unbecoming of a beauty. Now, hand the machete to me. Such an evil thing should be destroyed. The moon god waved her fist threateningly. It seemed that his wish of getting the machete from the moon god had fallen through. The moon was bright, and the stars were sparse. A bonfire burned fiercely in the forest. The roasted meat above the bonfire had already been roasted to a golden color. It emitted an alluring aroma that stirred one's taste buds. It was absolutely delicious. Ha ha ha! The roasted dragon meat is ready. It's my favorite, paired with a pot of wine. It's simply enjoyable. Lin Feng laughed. He looked at the moon god and asked, "Do you want to try it?" The moon god said, "I never eat such junk food." After saying that, the moon god raised her head high, looking like a goddess. Lin Feng said, "You really don't know how to enjoy life. How is this junk food? Have you heard of this saying? It's called dragon meat in the sky, donkey meat on the ground. Life isn't just about cultivation. It's also about enjoyment. Food is the most important thing for people. How can you give up on such delicious food and live like an ascetic monk? That would be a little too boring. Everyone has their own way of life," the moon god said. Lin Feng grinned and said, "That's quite true. Since you don't want to enjoy such delicacies, I'll just have to enjoy them myself." As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Feng began gorging himself. Seeing Lin Feng eating so happily, the moon god frowned. Moon goddess frowned and asked, "Is this barbecue really that delicious?" "You'll know after you try it," Lin Feng said. The moon god hesitated. In the end, she seemed to have made a great decision. She cut off a piece of roasted meat and ate it. Then she slowly chewed. The moon god's eyes grew brighter and brighter. This taste, moon god stared at the barbecued meat. Tears actually flowed down her cheeks. "Damn, is it so delicious that I'm crying?" Lin Feng rolled his eyes. Did he not eat anything in his previous life? He took a bite of the barbecued meat. She actually started crying. "It's very similar to when I was young. The taste my chef made. I thought of many things when I was young, and I couldn't help but feel sad," Moon God said. At first, Lin Feng thought Moon God was crying because the barbecue was too delicious, so he was a little smug. However, only now did he know. She wasn't crying because it was delicious. It turned out that she was thinking about the past. Wait a minute. The moon goddess said that the barbecue he made was very similar to the barbecue made by her chef. How preposterous. Could it be that he thought of himself as a cook? Lin Feng was speechless. He was happy for nothing. "Eat more if you like it," Lin Feng said. Moon God was a woman who didn't feel embarrassed at all. The barbecued meat reminded her of her childhood. She ate with tears in her eyes. Tears streamed down her face as she ate. It was a rather strange scene. After eating the barbecued meat, the two found a place to rest. The night passed uneventfully. The next day, they continued their journey. At noon, a great battle broke out in front of them. A group of creatures walked out of the endless ghost sand and surrounded a group of cultivators. Lin Feng looked over. He noticed those cultivators. They were actually cultivators from the Genu immortal sect. Because Lin Feng saw Meng Bingling, Lin Feng naturally didn't have a good impression of this woman. If there was anything he felt, it would be disgust and disgust. He was blind to be deceived by Meng Bingling back then. The cultivators from the Genu immortal sect couldn't resist the attacks of the creatures from the endless ghost sand. "Young Master Ji, save us, please." At this time, Meng Bingling saw Lin Feng in the distance and begged Lin Feng to save them. "Save your sister." Lin Feng was speechless. This bitch had the nerve to ask him for help. How could her skin be so thick? If she had any sense of shame, she wouldn't have asked for help like this. Lin Feng wasn't a saint. He was someone who would take revenge if he had a grudge. To the cultivators from the Genu immortal sect, Lin Feng only had 2 words for them. Die. Do you know those people? The moon goddess looked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng nodded. "I know them. They're just enemies." The moon goddess rolled her eyes and said, "Your enemy is asking you for help? You're really shameless. Let's go. Let's leave this place." Lin Feng said. The moon goddess nodded and was about to leave with Lin Feng. However, at this time, a voice came from the crowd. "Big Brother G, can you save us?" When Lin Feng heard that voice, he stopped and looked in the direction where the voice had come from. He saw a young woman, Nalan Shuling. It was her, the only person in the Genu Immortal sect that Lin Feng felt was a good person was Nalan Shuling. She was Meng Bingling's cousin. She was pure, kind, and cute. Lin Feng hesitated for a moment, then looked at the moon goddess. "Wait for me here. I'll be back soon." As soon as he finished speaking, he quickly flew in Nalan Shuling's direction. Lin Feng had a grudge with the Genu Immortal sect, but Lin Feng didn't want to drag a pure girl like Nalan Shuling into the mess. "Kid, do you want to die?" A few terrifying beings in the endless ghost sand coldly looked at Lin Feng, then flew towards Lin Feng. Slash! Whoosh, 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 whoosh. For stone swords flew out. Sword light illuminated the world. Clang, 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 clang. A series of violent collisions sounded. The beings in the endless ghost sand were sent flying. Lin Feng killed his way into the encirclement of the Genu Immortal sect cultivators. There were only a few dozen cultivators left from the Genu Immortal sect. Every one of them had suffered different degrees of injuries. It wouldn't be long before they were all killed. "Young Master Ji, no, it's Lin Gongzi. Are you here to save me?" Meng Bingling was very happy to see Lin Feng. She knew how strong Lin Feng's cultivation was. Now that Lin Feng was here, he would definitely be able to save her. As for the rest of her clansmen, Meng Bingling didn't care if they lived or died. "Get away from me!" Lin Feng looked at Meng Bingling indifferently. With a wave of his sleeve, a powerful force sent Meng Bingling flying. Lin Feng couldn't be bothered to pay attention to this bitch. He flew to Nalan Shuling's side, then grabbed one of Nalan Shuling's hands and said, "Follow me. Save the others. I beg you, Big Brother G." Nalan Shuling looked at Lin Feng with pleading eyes. Chapter 3985. Lin Feng wasn't a saint, and he didn't want to be one. He just wanted to live on. As for his enemies, Lin Feng didn't pity them. If he pitied them, who would pity him? Lin Feng didn't want to be a Virgin Mary. Lin Feng felt that those Virgin Mary people were really despicable. "Take me with you. Take me with you." "Lin Gongzi, I beg you, take me with you." Seeing that Lin Feng was about to leave, Meng Bingling flew towards Lin Feng again and begged loudly. No one could remain calm in the face of death, and Meng Bingling was no exception. She didn't want to die. Therefore, she was willing to put down her dignity and ask Lin Feng for help. The current Meng Bingling didn't look like a goddess at all. She looked like a pitiful person. "Big Brother Lin, please save my cousin," Nalan Shuling begged. "Some people aren't worth saving." Lin Feng replied indifferently. He increased his speed and rushed outside, but Meng Bingling was stopped halfway by a boundless ghost sand creature. Lin Feng rushed out with Nalan Shuling. Then he met up with the moon goddess, and the three of them quickly left. They stopped in front of a pond to rest. Nalan Shuling was sobbing nonstop. The death of her clansmen was a huge blow to her. Even now, she couldn't let it go. "It's useless to cry. Living on is the best way to repay the dead," Lin Feng said indifferently. "I will definitely live on. I will take revenge for my family," Nalan Shuling said through gritted teeth. Having faith was destined to be good. Therefore, Lin Feng didn't say anything. The moon goddess didn't hold back and said, "Little girl, you want to take revenge for your family with your little cultivation? You're daydreaming. Let me give you a piece of advice. Just live an honest life. Don't think about taking revenge. That's unrealistic. Otherwise, I'll lose my life too. I can't even think about it. Nayland Schuling looked at Moon God angrily. The Moon Goddess curled her lips and said, "For some people, even just thinking about it is not enough. You. Nayland Schuling was so angry that her entire body trembled. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. The Moon Goddess was usually not a talkative person. Why would she mock Nayland Schuling like this? Of course, Lin Feng could feel that Moon God was trying to make Nayland Schuling give up on revenge. However, perhaps he could use another method to remind Nayland Schuling. Instead of using the current method, woo. Nayland Schuling was deeply shocked and directly squatted on the ground and cried. "It's important to know who you are." Moon Goddess said. Lin Feng said, "Don't provoke that little girl anymore." Moon God didn't say anything else. Lin Feng naturally felt pity for Nayland Schuling. However, he didn't feel any pity for Nayland Schuling's clansmen. Those people weren't good people either. Even death couldn't wipe out their crimes. 2 months later, Lin Feng and the rest arrived at Dreamy Cloud Forest. The Moon Goddess said indifferently, "Why are you here?" Lin Feng said, "There are many of my subordinates here." The Moon Goddess said, "I didn't expect you to have such a big force of your own. There are many things you don't know. As you get to know me, you will find that you will be deeply attracted to me," Lin Feng said with a smile. The Moon Goddess took out her machete again. Lin Feng's face turned green when he saw the Moon God's machete. "You're actually very similar to someone," the Moon Goddess suddenly said. "What person?" Lin Feng asked curiously. He was even a little apprehensive now. He didn't know why the Moon Goddess would suddenly say such a thing. The Moon Goddess didn't answer Lin Feng. She remained silent. Lin Feng was even more confused now. He felt that the Moon Goddess was a little strange. 5 days later, Lin Feng found Lady Whitesnake and the rest. There were originally 5 sovereign lords in Dreamy Cloud Forest, but Lin Feng had already subdued Lady Whitesnake. The other 4 sovereign lords were the Azure Dragon Sovereign, the 6-armed Divine Ape Sovereign, the Gold-Devouring Rat Sovereign, and the Nether Leopard Sovereign. The cultivations of the 4 Monarch Masters were extremely powerful too. The 4 sovereign lords had always followed Lady Whitesnake's lead. Now that Lady Whitesnake had returned, it was easy for her to subdue them. When Lin Feng arrived at the Whitesnake Imperial Palace, he saw the 4 sovereign lords. The 4 sovereign lords all swore loyalty to Lin Feng. With that, Lin Feng had 11 sovereign lords under his command. Including himself, he had a total of 12 sovereign lords. The situation outside was still very turbulent. The creatures in the endless ghost sand had joined forces with the divine kingdom of despair led by the never-ending Empress. Naturally, they were invincible. They formed an army and rushed out of Bitter Cold State. They began to invade Heavenly Sage Great World. Lin Feng and the rest had been paying attention to the situation outside, with that powerful sovereign in charge. The creatures in the endless ghost sand could definitely occupy a large amount of territory. Bitter Cold State was adjacent to the territory of the Sacred War Alliance. Therefore, the army in the endless ghost sand and the Cultivator Alliance of the Sacred War Alliance fought a series of battles. Every battle was earth-shattering, and the sun and moon dimmed. The battle was extremely tragic. That night, something extremely terrifying happened. It was also something that Lin Feng did not expect. A large amount of evil fog rolled and surrounded the place where they lived. By the time Lin Feng discovered it, they were already completely surrounded. It was the creatures in the endless ghost sand who had quietly arrived and surrounded Lin Feng and the rest. However, the creatures in the endless ghost sand did not attack Lin Feng and the rest directly. I'm afraid this is troublesome. Lin Feng's expression was gloomy. The creatures in the endless ghost sand were too powerful. It would be disastrous for them to be surrounded by the army formed by the creatures in the endless ghost sand. Even if they could break out of the encirclement, they would definitely suffer heavy casualties. Now, the restriction in the White Snake Imperial Palace had been activated, but everyone knew that the restriction could not stop the army from coming out of the endless ghost sand. Sovereign, we have come as you ordered. The middle-aged man in the form of the Donghuang Bell stepped forward. He then said respectfully, Sovereign, the endless ghost sand's sovereign is here. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. Lin Feng looked at the moon goddess. The only person he did not know was the moon goddess. Moon goddess, you are. Lin Feng's throat was dry, his lips were dry. The moon goddess stepped forward. Greetings, sovereign. Chapter 3986. My lord. She's actually the lord. Lin Feng wasn't the only one who was shocked. Everyone was shocked. They hadn't expected the moon goddess to be the lord. The moon goddess hadn't acted as cold and aloof as the lord before. However, the moon goddess was the master. She was the real master. I really didn't expect you to be the lord. I was too careless. When I first met you, I was clearly being chased by a group of middle-aged cultivators formed by the Donghuang Bell. I couldn't shake them off for a long time before I met you, but after I met you, they left on their own accord. I should have guessed that you were the lord then. Otherwise, why would those guys leave? I thought something happened that forced them to leave, but it seems like you were the one who gave the order for them to leave. The moon goddess looked at Lin Feng and said indifferently, That's right. It's just as you guessed. With your powerful cultivation, isn't it easy for you to deal with me? Why didn't you make a move after following me for so long? Why did you summon so many subordinates? Isn't this a little too much? Lin Feng said with a frown. He really couldn't figure out what the moon goddess was up to. At this moment, the moon goddess's lips curled into an indifferent smile. Lin Feng suddenly came to a realization. Was it disdain? The reason the moon goddess hadn't made a move personally and had summoned her subordinates was actually because she disdained to make a move. How ironic! However, Lin Feng soon felt that things weren't that simple. The moon goddess might indeed disdain to make a move, but Lin Feng instinctively felt that there was another reason he didn't know. What exactly are you plotting? Lin Feng looked at the moon goddess and asked with a gloomy expression, I thought you were him, but after interacting with you, I realized you weren't him. Who is he? Lin Feng asked after taking a deep breath. A man that I hate the most. The moon goddess's voice turned cold. The moon goddess's emotions had been very stable until this man was mentioned. Only then did her emotions change. It was obvious that this man she was talking about was the man she was talking about. This had a huge impact on her. Do you think I'm someone else's reincarnation? Lin Feng asked. That's what I think. But you're not, the moon goddess said. Lin Feng noticed that the moon goddess's expression was a little disappointed that Lin Feng wasn't that person's reincarnation. What? Could it be that the great moon goddess of the moon was abandoned by some other man? Said Lin Feng mockingly. What did you say? Moon God's face was cold. Murderous intent flashed in her eyes. At that moment, the god's moon god, that kind of feeling was really too terrible. Could that man be my ancestor, the Lord of Gods? Asked Lin Feng. Humph. The moon goddess grunted coldly. I don't kill members of the sovereign clan. If it wasn't for that reason, you would have died countless times by now. It seems like I was right, Lin Feng said. You think you're so smart. The moon goddess looked at Lin Feng coldly. Then she waved her hand. Kill them all. Leave no one alive." The middle-aged man, transformed by the Eastern Emperor Bel, shouted coldly. The moon goddess had many reasons for not attacking, but the Eastern Emperor Bel's middle-aged man and the creatures in the endless ghost sand could kill Lin Feng and the others without any scruples. "Let's go all out, even if we have to risk our lives. We have to escort the young master out." The nine-eyed Emperor Lord's group had a ferocious glint in their eyes. Ever since they had joined Lin Feng, they had been loyal to Lin Feng. Therefore, they wanted to escort Lin Feng out. "Don't worry, we'll leave safely," Lin Feng said. In the next moment, swoosh, there was a flash of light. The Stone of Destiny appeared in Lin Feng's hand. Lin Feng planned to use it. This was something that his senior sister Shui Linglong had given to Lin Feng before she left. It was to save his life. Lin Feng said softly, "Stone of Destiny, my fate has been connected to my subordinates. Our fates are closely linked. I hope you can escort us out of here." As Lin Feng spoke, he activated the great art of destiny. He used the power of destiny to envelop everyone. Then Lin Feng activated the Stone of Destiny. After the Stone of Destiny was activated, it swept out a ball of holy light and enveloped Lin Feng and the others. Then Lin Feng and the others disappeared without a trace. This, the middle-aged man that was transformed from the Eastern Emperor Bel, stopped. His expression was uncertain. The terrifying creatures in the endless ghost sand all stopped because they had lost their target. The moon goddess frowned slightly. She had not expected this to happen. "Master, I'll give chase. I won't let them escape." The middle-aged cultivator that the Eastern Emperor Bel had transformed into quickly said. The moon goddess said, "Don't chase. They've already left. I'm afraid you won't be able to catch up even if you want to." "Then are we going to let that brat go?" The middle-aged cultivator that was the Eastern Emperor Bel asked. The moon goddess's expression was uncertain. Finally, she said, "Ignore him for now. Speed up. Take over the great heavenly sage world." "Yes, master," the middle-aged man that was transformed from the Eastern Emperor Bel replied. Lin Feng and the others appeared in a forest thousands of li away. They were finally out of danger. The great heavenly sage world will fall into chaos. It seems like we need to find a place to rest and reap the spoils later. Lin Feng said, "There's a deity island in the West Sea called Bewilderment Fog Island. There's a natural array around the island. Once you enter, you'll be trapped inside. In the past, your subordinate entered it by mistake and only managed to escape after a narrow escape. We can temporarily settle down on Bewilderment Fog Island," Emperor Yunzhe said. "All right, let's go to Bewilderment Fog Island then," Lin Feng said. The group flew towards the West Sea world. The main forces of the great heavenly sage world were scattered on land. Therefore, if the great heavenly sage world fell into chaos, it would start from the inland world. In the overseas world, they could sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. A month later, Lin Feng and the others arrived at the outer region of Bewilderment Fog Island. The outer region of Bewilderment Fog Island was quiet, not to mention cultivators. Even the beasts of the sea rarely came here. Every once in a while, a large amount of white fog would be emitted from Bewilderment Fog Island, enveloping all living beings within it. Chapter 3987. Lin Feng stood at the periphery and looked toward the depths of the island. The white fog made it impossible to see what was going on inside. However, he could still vaguely make out the outline of an island. Lin Feng looked at Monarch Yunzhe and asked, "Did you discover anything special on the island back then?" "Monarch," Yunzhe said, "back then, the furthest I went was the central region of the island. As for the inner region, I didn't dare enter. Every once in a while, the island would release white fog that would devour all living things. What's going on? Lin Feng asked curiously. Monarch Yun Zhe said, It's the white fog that comes from the depths of the island. It's very strange. Back then, I saw the white fog coming out, so I hid in some special caves to avoid being devoured by the white fog. Special caves? What kind of caves are they? Lin Feng asked in astonishment. Those caves have extremely ancient runes drawn on them. I don't know when they were drawn. Perhaps it's because of those runes that I was able to avoid being devoured by hiding in the caves. Monarch Yunzhe said. Lin Feng stroked his chin. What Monarch Yunzhe said made sense. It seemed that there was indeed something special about the island. Lin Feng planned to enter the island and explore it further. Bring us inside, Lin Feng said. Young master and fellow cultivators, please follow me. Monarch Yunzhe said as he led the way. The formation outside the foggy island was a natural formation. It was unpredictable and terrifying. One needed a special method to pass through them. Ordinary people couldn't enter at all. Under Monarch Yunzhe's lead, everyone circled around the formations. While circling around, Lin Feng discovered that the formations were indeed very complicated. If he relied on his own methods to pass through the formations, even if he succeeded, it would take him a month or even longer. As for others, they would have no hope of passing through the formations. Lin Feng sighed. Nature was truly a work of the gods. The spirit design here was a masterpiece of nature. Lin Feng and the others successfully passed through the array and arrived on Bewilderment Fog Island. Bewilderment Fog Island was filled with the roars of beasts and cries of apes. It was an ancient and unexplored island. Lin Feng looked at Monarch Yunzhe and said, Once we've settled down, take everyone on a few more trips. Make sure everyone remembers how to cross the array. Yes, young master. Monarch Yunzhe hurriedly replied. Take us to the cave. Lin Feng said. Sir, please follow me. Emperor Yunzhe said. He personally led the way and flew into the depths of the island. Half an hour later, a mountain range appeared in the forest ahead of them. Monarch Yunzhe said, Young master, the cave is within the mountain range. Lin Feng nodded, and the group entered the mountain range. Lin Feng saw that there were many caves in the mountain range's inner region. Inside the cave, there was another world. The interior of the cave varied in size. There were roughly 300 to 400 such caves. Lin Feng entered one of the caves and immediately discovered that it was densely covered in runes. Due to the passage of time, many of the runes were blurred. Many of the runes had already become blurry, and it was impossible to tell what kind of runes they were. Of course, even though Lin Feng could clearly see the talismans, he didn't recognize them. Do any of you recognize these runes? Lin Feng asked. Everyone shook their heads. They did not recognize these ancient runes at all. These runes were too mysterious. They did not know what kind of runes they were. The only thing they knew was that these runes were probably used to protect the cave. Demon Lord, do you recognize these runes? Lin Feng transmitted his voice to the Demon Lord. The Demon Lord was experienced and knowledgeable. The others did not recognize them. Perhaps the Demon Lord would recognize them? The Demon Lord said, These runes, I don't recognize them, but I feel like I've seen them somewhere before. Oh, you've seen them before? Where did they come from? Lin Feng asked in surprise. Let me think about it. The Demon Lord said. Lin Feng nodded and did not disturb the Demon Lord. After a while, the Demon Lord said, I remember now. Oh, you remember? What race wrote these runes? Lin Feng asked. It should be the innate human race. The Demon Lord said. Lin Feng could not help but be shocked. The current human race was the descendant of the innate human race. However, as time passed, the power of the bloodline gradually weakened. It was far from being as powerful as the innate human race of the past. Of course, not all innate human bloodlines had deteriorated. For example, the celestial race and the immortal race were still incomparably powerful, high and mighty, peerless and invincible. As for which race the innate human race that created these caves was, it was unknown. In the past, the innate human race was divided into many different races. However, with the passage of time, most of them had died out. There were very few innate humans who had survived until now. Do you know which race it is exactly? Lin Feng asked. The demon lord said, I'm not sure. I remember that I occasionally saw these runes and introductions in an incomplete ancient scroll. However, because the ancient scroll was incomplete, the information I knew was too limited. After hearing the demon lord's words, Lin Feng knew that it was not realistic to expect more information from the demon lord. After all, the demon lord did not know much about this mysterious, innate human race. Lin Feng ordered everyone to tidy up the caves. Then, everyone settled down. Next, Lin Feng sent Emperor Jiuyan and a dozen cultivators to scout for information. Not long after, a sage emperor returned. He brought back some information that Emperor Jiuyan had obtained. The outside world was now in complete chaos. The creatures of the endless ghost sand were simply invincible. They were invincible, nibbling away at the Sacred War Alliance's forces. The Sacred War Alliance had always been the hegemon of the great sage world. Now that their forces were being nibbled away, the Sacred War Alliance was naturally unwilling to accept it. Thus, the experts of the Sacred War Alliance, who had come out of seclusion, took action. They led the Sacred War Alliance's cultivator army to battle the creatures of the endless ghost sand. The creatures of the endless ghost sand were divided into two powerful armies. The first was the undead army, led by the undead lord. The second was the Heaven Devourer army, led by the middle-aged cultivator that the Eastern Emperor Bel had transformed into. This army was formed by the living creatures of the endless ghost sand. Chapter 3988. The undead army and the Heaven Devourer army were very powerful. The undead army was almost unkillable. Of course, it wasn't impossible to kill them. In order to kill them, one would need special means or artifacts. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to kill the undead army. As for the Sky Devourer army, they were even more powerful. The living beings in the endless ghost sand were much stronger than the undead army, but they didn't have the ability of immortality. The two armies were invincible. Even the Sacred War Alliance was having trouble resisting the attacks of the two armies. Lin Feng had been paying attention to the situation outside. He didn't have a good impression of the Sacred War Alliance. If the Sacred War Alliance was destroyed, it would save him the trouble of dealing with them. On this day, waves of violent fluctuations came from the depths of Bewilderment Fog Island, attracting the attention of Lin Feng and the others. The white mist is about to rush out, Emperor Yunzhe said. Inform everyone to return to the cave as soon as possible. Lin Feng said in a deep voice. The white mist coming out from the depths of Bewilderment Fog Island was very terrifying. They had to treat it with caution. Emperor Yunzhe quickly went to inform the others. Everyone entered the cave, one after another. At this moment, the white mist finally rushed out. It was a vast expanse of whiteness, and nothing could be seen. Lin Feng tried to use the Eye of Origin to observe the scene inside the white mist, but it failed in the end. Even the Eye of Origin couldn't see the specific situation inside the white mist. It was a little inconceivable. When the white mist tried to enter the cave, the mysterious runes inside the cave came to life. Each rune was emitting a mysterious glow. The light rushed out, blocking the invasion of the white mist. the innate human's wisdom is really unfathomable. The runes they drew are really mysterious. Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh. The white mist lasted for 3 days. 3 days later, the white mist quickly retreated into the depths of Bewilderment Fog Island. The world returned to normal. It was as if nothing had happened before. Lin Feng and the others walked out of the cave. They discovered that Bewilderment Fog Island was still densely covered by birds and ferocious beasts. When the white fog surged out, it did not attack those creatures, nor did it devour them. Of course, perhaps the creatures on Bewilderment Fog Island knew how to avoid the white fog, which was why they were safe and sound. Lin Feng planned to explore the depths of the island. The Bewilderment Fog Island was simply too extraordinary. Perhaps it was hiding some shocking secrets. He did not plan to bring anyone with him. Instead, he wanted to explore the depths alone. Lin Feng's methods were powerful. If he were to enter alone, even if he encountered danger, it would be easy for him to escape. However, if he were to bring others along, it would be more troublesome. Lin Feng told everyone to wait outside. Then he rushed into the depths. Along the way, Lin Feng saw many powerful, ferocious beasts. Some of them even attacked Lin Feng. Lin Feng released his aura. The ferocious beasts and birds were immediately frightened and fled in all directions. On the other hand, Lin Feng continued to walk into the depths. Roar! Suddenly, a roar was heard. A large part of the forest collapsed. Then, 100-meter-tall, ferocious beast rushed out. This ferocious beast was actually an 8-clawed tyrant dragon. This 8-clawed tyrant dragon directly pounced towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng was shocked. There was actually a dragon here. Although it was only an earth dragon, it was not that the earth dragons were not powerful enough. Most of the earth dragons were indeed much weaker compared to other dragon clans. However, there were also extremely terrifying existences within the earth dragon clan. Lin Feng swept his fist towards the 8-clawed tyrant dragon. Bang! Then Lin Feng and the 8-clawed tyrant dragon fiercely collided. Although the 8-clawed tyrant dragon was powerful, it was still lacking when compared to Lin Feng. The 8-clawed tyrant dragon was sent flying by Lin Feng. Seeing how powerful Lin Feng was, the 8-clawed tyrant dragon did not dare to continue fighting with Lin Feng. It turned around and ran. Lin Feng did not chase after the 8-clawed tyrant dragon. Instead, he continued to walk deeper into the depths of the island. The ferocious beasts that appeared beside him were also getting stronger. However, those powerful, ferocious beasts were more sensitive to aura. Lin Feng deliberately released his aura to intimidate those ferocious beasts. Therefore, in the following part of the journey, there were no more ferocious beasts that attacked Lin Feng. That is a tree. Lin Feng looked in front of him in shock. A huge canyon appeared in front of him. Above the canyon, there was an ancient tree that was lying down. That ancient tree had already withered and died long ago. The ancient tree was as thick as a mountain. It was 3,000 meters long. It was too huge. Even though Lin Feng was experienced and knowledgeable, he could not help but be extremely shocked after seeing that ancient tree. What kind of ancient tree is this? Lin Feng was puzzled. He walked toward the ancient tree and finally stepped on it. An ancient aura assaulted his senses. He did not know when this ancient tree was born, nor did he know who cut it down. Lin Feng walked along the ancient tree and walked toward the opposite side. Not long after, he actually saw a huge bird's nest on top of the ancient tree. It was a golden bird's nest. It gave off a holy feeling. Lin Feng increased his speed and rushed toward the golden bird's nest. Will there be bird eggs? Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter. The creatures that could live in this area were definitely the overlords of Bewilderment Fog Island. If there were bird eggs here, they would definitely be the eggs of an extremely extraordinary bird. Lin Feng entered the bird's nest. However, he discovered that there were no bird eggs in the bird's nest. This made Lin Feng somewhat disappointed. Lin Feng was shocked. He increased his speed and walked toward that item. Very soon, Lin Feng arrived beside that item and picked it up. Then, his face lit up with joy. A Xian Dao martial talisman. This item was actually a Xian Dao martial talisman. Previously, Lin Feng had obtained a Xian Dao martial talisman. After a long time, Lin Feng was unable to obtain another Xian Dao martial talisman. He did not expect to find a Xian Dao martial talisman here. A Xian Dao martial talisman would split into 3 and scatter between heaven and earth. Lin Feng's devouring martial spirit had already evolved 6 devouring black holes. If he could find a new Xian Dao martial talisman, it would definitely be able to evolve again. Lin Feng had already collected 2 of the 3 Xian Dao talismans. He only needed 1 more talisman. If he could find it, he'd be happy to find it. If he could find it, Lin Feng's martial spirit would evolve again. At this moment, Lin Feng suddenly felt his entire body turn cold. Chapter 3989. This feeling of coldness was really terrible. Lin Feng looked around, trying to find that horrifying existence. He wanted to see just what kind of living being it was. However, after searching for a while, Lin Feng did not find anything. He could not find that horrifying existence that was hiding in the dark. However, Lin Feng knew that there must be a horrifying existence hiding in the dark. Otherwise, he would not have felt that sense of danger. Whoosh! Lin Feng increased his speed and dashed towards the depths, wanting to leave this place as soon as possible. Just then, the void tore open. A sharp claw swiped towards Lin Feng. Quick! 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 The speed of the sharp claw was simply too fast. In an instant, it was right in front of Lin Feng. There was no way for Lin Feng to dodge. The sharp claw shone with a cold gleam. That sharp claw was the scariest weapon. Looking at that sharp claw swiping towards him, Lin Feng's eyes darkened. That fella finally could not hold it in any longer. Lin Feng's body flashed with a bright light. Suddenly, the ruler's armor flew out. Wrapping Lin Feng up, that sharp claw swiped at the ruler's armor. Clang! A series of clanging sounds rang out, and sparks flew everywhere. Even though that sharp claw was strong, there was no way it could break through Lin Feng's ruler's armor. After that horrifying existence's attack failed, it wanted to retreat. However, Lin Feng's reaction was extremely fast. He grabbed that terrifying existence's wrist and pulled. Instantly, that terrifying existence was pulled out from the void by Lin Feng. Lin Feng could finally see what that fella looked like. That fella had a face that was as ugly as a ghost. His body was like a human's, but he had extremely sharp claws. What the hell is this? Lin Feng looked at that existence in shock. However, his attack did not stop at all. He threw a punch at that terrifying existence. Lin Feng's punch was extremely powerful. It contained a terrifying power that could destroy the world. That hideous and terrifying existence hurriedly threw a punch at Lin Feng's attack. In close combat, that terrifying existence was no match for Lin Feng. Along with a dull and powerful collision sound, Lin Feng and that terrifying existence collided violently. Crack! Crack! The terrifying existence's bones cracked. Lin Feng's strength was too strong. In close combat, Lin Feng was almost invincible. I beg for mercy. I beg for mercy. I don't want to fight you. I can't beat you. That fella started begging Lin Feng used the 8 godly abstraction seals and sealed the terrifying cultivator. Oh my God! How dare you seal me? If I hadn't been careless, I wouldn't have lost to you. If we were to compete in terms of magical power, I can crush you to death with my bare hands. That existence roared in anger. Lin Feng said indifferently, take note of your current status. If you continue to act tough in front of yours truly, do you believe that yours truly won't break your bones? You're ruthless. That existence said viciously. What the hell are you? You're neither human nor ghost. You look really weird. Lin Feng could not help but mutter, F***CK, what are you talking about? I'm a member of the devil race. It's one thing for me to be ignorant, but how dare you come out and embarrass yourself? That fella curled his lips and said he had no awareness of being a prisoner at all. How dare he mock Lin Feng? However, his face turned completely green the moment he finished speaking. That was because Lin Feng took out his Wolverine mace and held it in his hand. What are you trying to do? Don't be rash. Being rash is the devil. That fella wailed. Bam! Lin Feng swung his Wolverine mace and smashed it at the fella. Clang! The Wolverine mace landed heavily on the fella's body. Ah! The fella screamed in agony and was sent flying. Plop! That fella fell into the forest and started convulsing. Lin Feng walked over with his Wolverine mace. He looked at the fella with a smile and asked, that attack just now, how did it feel? That fella said with a sullen face, I'm convinced. Big brother, stop hitting me. If you continue, I'll die. Hee, you might be a little ugly, but you should be pretty good as a follower after being purified. Lin Feng revealed a devilish smile. Lin Feng knew how terrifying that fella was. If not for the fact that they were in close combat, he might not have been able to defeat that fella. Lin Feng started using the great purification technique. Then he touched that guy's third eye, and a powerful purification strength penetrated into that guy's brain. However, Lin Feng's expression quickly changed. He discovered that the fella did not have a soul. You don't have a soul? Lin Feng asked with a frown. This was the first time he had seen an existence without a soul. The fella chuckled and said, we are devils. We are not soulless. It's just that our souls have fused with our bodies. Souls fused with their bodies? What a strange race. Lin Feng said with a frown, we devils are the greatest race in the world. We don't have any flaws from head to toe. That fellow began to boast. It was just like how many other races believed that they were the greatest race. The greatest race. Stop bragging. If you really are the greatest race, how could you be my prisoner? Lin Feng said. The devil cultivator was like a wilted eggplant. All the strength in his body seemed to have been sucked out. What's your name? Lin Feng asked. Mo Qianbian. The fella said. Mo Qianbian, what a lame name. However, it does suit your temperament. Lin Feng said with a pout. Mo Qianbian, have you been living here all this while? Lin Feng asked. Of course not. I came here a few years ago. Mo Qianbian said. A few years ago? Why haven't you left this place? Lin Feng asked. Mo Qianbian's eyes flashed and said, I felt that this place was a paradise with abundant spiritual energy and resources. It was very suitable for cultivation, so I settled down here. Bang! Lin Feng swung his Vajra mace again and sent Mo Qianbian flying. Ouch, it hurts so much, Mo Qianbian wailed. Chapter 3990. After being hit by Lin Feng's Wolverine mace twice, Mo Qianbian became much more obedient. There was nothing he could do about it. How could it be so easy to fool Lin Feng? At this point, Mo Qianbian could only answer Lin Feng honestly, not daring to play any more tricks. unless Mo Qianbian wanted to be beaten again. Mo Qianbian crawled up from the ground and bared his teeth. Aren't you a little too ruthless? Lin Feng said, Of course, I won't beat you up if you tell me the truth. I'll ask you again, why haven't you left this place? Did you find something special here? Mo Qianbian said, I did find something special. You should have seen the white fog from before. It might be related to something extraordinary. All these years, I've been trying to enter the inner region to explore. Lin Feng asked curiously, Did you find anything shocking? I really did find something shocking. I have a feeling that something terrifying might be suppressed in the depths of the island. Mo Qianbian said mysteriously. Oh, something terrifying is being suppressed in the depths of the island. If that's true, then the white fog in the depths of the island is related to that mysterious thing? Lin Feng asked. Yes, that should be the case. However, it's hard to find out what's being suppressed there. Although I've tried to get close to that area, I've given up in the end after many attempts. Mo Qianbian continued. Why did you give up? Lin Feng asked. Fear, the fear in my heart. I don't know why, but every time I get close to that area, endless fear will arise in my heart. Mo Qianbian said. With such little guts, how did you cultivate to your current level? Lin Feng couldn't help but roll his eyes. Mo Qianbian said gloomily, Don't make sarcastic remarks here. When you get to that area, you'll know that I'm not lying. There seems to be a special power that magnifies the fear in the depths of the cultivators' hearts. Lin Feng scratched his chin. He didn't know if Mo Qianbian was right or not. I'll give you a chance to choose. First, submit to me. Second, be smashed to death by my mace. Lin Feng then looked at Mo Qianbian like a demon. Mo Qianbian wailed, What the hell? I've really met the wrong person. Am I the devil, or are you the devil? I'm someone scarier than a devil. Lin Feng was immensely proud of himself. It's my bad luck to provoke you. I can submit to you, but at most 100 years. After 100 years, I'll be free. Or else, just beat me to death. Mo Qianbian said. Then he looked like a dead pig that was not afraid of boiling water. Said Lin Feng, smiling. 100 years is fine. Don't worry. After 100 years, even if I chase you away, you won't leave. Hearing this, Mo Qianbian pursed his lips with a disdainful expression. Lin Feng said, All right, let's start the oath. Hearing the word oath, Mo Qianbian's face turned bitter. But there was no turning back. He could only start the oath. I, Mo Qianbian, am willing to submit to young master. For the next 100 years, I'll be loyal to young master. If I have any other thoughts, I'll die a horrible death. I accept your loyalty. Lin Feng tapped Mo Qianbian's forehead. A rune formed and flew into Mo Qianbian's mind. After Mo Qianbian made the oath, he completely submitted to Lin Feng. Lin Feng waved his hand and removed the seal on Mo Qianbian's body. After Mo Qianbian regained his freedom, he smiled. Hee, not bad, not bad. It feels good to be free. Mo Qianbian stretched his muscles and said, Are you a cultivator from Heavenly Sage Great World? I don't think there are any devils in Heavenly Sage Great World, right? Lin Feng asked Mo Qianbian. I'm not a cultivator from Heavenly Sage Great World. I am a cultivator from the underworld, Mo Qianbian said. A cultivator from the underworld, apart from the underworld envoys. It's very difficult for the beings from the underworld to enter the world of the living. Even if they did, they would be destroyed by the heavenly tribulation. How did you come out from the underworld? Lin Feng asked curiously. Mo Qianbian said, Everyone has their own secrets. Lin Feng nodded and did not ask further. Lin Feng treated his subordinates with great respect. He would never force his subordinates to do something they did not want to do. Since Mo Qianbian didn't want to tell Lin Feng his secret, Lin Feng didn't want to force him. Let's go. Let's go deeper and take a look, Lin Feng said. Mo Qianbian nodded and quickly flew deeper into the island with Lin Feng. The deepest part of the island actually formed an extremely powerful Adele magnetic field. When Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian arrived at the place, Lin Feng immediately realized it was very difficult for him to circulate his magic power. The magnetic field here is very scary. Lin Feng frowned. Yes, the magnetic field here greatly suppresses magic power. Look at the continuous mountain range in front after we cross 3 mountains and enter that region. The situation I mentioned will happen. Mo Qianbian pointed to the depths. Lin Feng said, "We'll know what's going on after we try it." He and Mo Qianbian entered the depths of the mountain range. The deeper they went, the more their magic power was suppressed. After crossing 2 mountains, they could no longer circulate their magic power. The magnetic field here seems to have formed a forbidden space. Lin Feng couldn't help but take a deep breath. There were many conditions to form a magnetic field. For example, when a certain kind of energy accumulated to an extreme, it could form a magnetic field. For example, if a terrifying expert died here, it could also form a magnetic field. Another example would be the entrance to a different world or a place where space and time intersected to form a magnetic field. Lin Feng did not know why this place would form a magnetic field, but for it to form such a powerful magnetic field, it must be hiding a huge secret. It's indeed the same as the forbidden space. There are ferocious beasts roaming around here. We should be careful. Mo Qianbian said. Chapter 3991. That canyon is the place I was talking about. Mo Qianbian said. Lin Feng nodded and walked towards the canyon with Mo Qianbian following behind. The two entered the canyon. Following that, Lin Feng felt that his heart was extremely oppressive. As he walked deeper into the canyon, the oppressive feeling continued to increase. Not long after, the oppressive feeling turned into pain. It was hard to tell where the pain came from, but he could feel the pain. His heart felt like it was being stabbed by a sharp sword. A sword. Following that, a sword pierced into his heart. This feeling was terrible. Damn it, this is unbearable. Mo Qianbian had already started cursing. Lin Feng endured the pain and continued walking. He did not have the time to care about Mo Qianbian. If he had the strength, he might as well walk a few more steps. Mo Qianbian gritted his teeth and walked deeper. When he arrived at the central region, Lin Feng felt like his heart had been split into 2. Mo Qianbian had also arrived here. This guy's body was twitching. Lin Feng thought that Mo Qianbian could not hold on and was about to die. He said, "Let's leave quickly. Just wait for me outside." Mo Qianbian said, "Hee, don't misunderstand. How can I not hold on? This is called swaying left and right to reduce pressure. Don't look at me swaying left and right. Actually, I am reducing the damage to my body from the pressure. Why don't you learn from me?" "Forget it. You should just stagger forward on your own," Lin Feng said. The two continued to walk deeper into the canyon. It was unknown if it was because the two of them had the motivation to be together, but they persevered all the way. They were still about 100 meters away from leaving the canyon. However, after arriving here, they had almost reached the limit of Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian, because the two of them felt that their hearts had already shattered. No, to be precise, they could not even feel their own hearts. This feeling was so painful that it made them wish they were dead. Lin Feng wanted to escape from this place. He did not want to continue walking deeper. Only by leaving this damned place could he be free. However, he didn't want to give up. Persevere. He had to persevere. Every step Lin Feng took was incomparably difficult. It was even more painful than being thrown into the 18th level of hell. Mo Qianbian wanted to retreat a few times, but when he saw Lin Feng in front of him, he gritted his teeth and persisted. This guy had always been someone who refused to admit defeat. Therefore, he gritted his teeth and persevered. 90 meters, 80 meters, 70 meters, 60 meters, 50 meters, 40 meters, 30 meters. With every step he took, there was a feeling that was worse than death. Lin Feng even felt that his body and soul no longer belonged to him. He lifted his foot. Everything was so difficult. He was in so much pain that he wished he was dead. Anyone could collapse under this kind of torment, but Lin Feng's willpower was strong, and he persevered. Don't give up. You can do it. Everyone's hope is on you. You are not fighting alone. You are not fighting alone. Mo Qianbian felt his consciousness blurring, but the conviction in his heart was very strong. He was not fighting alone. He carried the hope of the entire family. 20 meters, 10 meters, 9 meters, 8 meters, 7 meters, 6 meters, 5 meters, 4 meters, 3 meters, 2 meters, 1 meter. He was about to walk out. But at that moment, Lin Feng had the impression that the world was spinning. He was pulled into a dark space. This was the starry sky world. A woman was suppressed by a stone coffin in the depths of the starry sky world. Mother, Lin Feng looked at the woman. Feng, my poor child. It's dangerous here. Leave quickly. The woman looked at Lin Feng with tears in her eyes. He. A sinister voice resounded between heaven and earth. That voice was extremely terrifying, even more ear-piercing than the voice of a malicious spirit. Black fog rolled. This was a creature from the previous era. Kid, don't you want to save your mother? Today, I'm going to chop off your mother's head right in front of you. The terrifying existence in the black fog said sinisterly. No, no. Lin Feng screamed in horror. He would not allow such a thing to happen. However, Lin Feng was powerless to stop all of this. There was a puffing sound, accompanied by the sound of something being torn apart. Blood splattered everywhere. Lin Feng watched his mother being beheaded with his own eyes. But there was nothing he could do. There was nothing he could do. Why did this happen? Lin Feng roared in pain. Since young, he kept working hard, and working hard. He put in 10 times, 100 times, or even 1,000 times more effort in cultivation than others just to be able to save his mother one day. However, all of this, it had become impossible. Endless darkness surged forth. The darkness wanted to devour Lin Feng. Lin Feng had the feeling that his consciousness was sinking. He felt very tired, very tired, very tired. So many years of hard work had come to nothing. So what if he was unwilling? Everything could not be reversed. His mother died in front of him. The blow to Lin Feng was too great. I'm so tired. I want to keep sleeping, Lin Feng muttered. He closed his eyes. His consciousness became more and more blurry. He seemed to be going to sleep forever. He would not wake up until he turned into a skeleton. When Lin Feng was about to lose all of his consciousness, Lin Feng suddenly heard a voice. Don't give up. Don't give up. No matter when. Don't give up on yourself. Life, well, this is the best way to repay your parents. That voice resounded in Lin Feng's mind over and over again. Mother, it's mother's voice, Lin Feng muttered to himself. He was sure that it was his mother's voice. His mother was encouraging him. That's right. He couldn't give up. He had to live. No matter what, He had to live. Lin Feng tried to open his eyes, with great effort. However, he tried again and again. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't open his eyes. The darkness wanted to completely devour Lin Feng. No, no one can devour me, Lin Feng roared. Finally, he opened his eyes. All of the darkness turned into light. Lin Feng found that he was still in the canyon. Everything that happened just now was just an illusion. The illusion here was very strange, using the fear in the cultivator's heart to create an illusion space, trapping the cultivator inside, until he completely sank. Chapter 3992. Lin Feng took another step forward. When he took this step, he finally rushed out of the valley. All of the pain had vanished into thin air. Besides, Lin Feng had the feeling that his willpower had become even stronger. His spirit had become more condensed. His soul force had increased substantially. Previously, he had experienced inhumane torture. He had experienced endless pain. Now that the pain was over, all the pain was worth it. Lin Feng looked at Mo Qianbian. At this moment, Mo Qianbian was still unable to extricate himself from the illusion. Lin Feng had no way to help Mo Qianbian. He could only rely on himself to break the illusion and walk out. Only then could he complete his self-improvement. No, no, no. Father, don't die. No, no, no. Mother, don't die. Xiaolian, wake up. Don't die, okay? Don't die, don't die. Why is it like this? Why is it like this? Suddenly, Mo Qianbian roared. He seemed to be experiencing some painful memories. And this kind of memory was something he never wanted to experience again, but it was a memory that he would never forget for the rest of his life. His face was contorted as his body trembled. He was crying. However, what flowed out of his eyes were blood tears. What is he thinking of? What happened to him in the past? Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself after seeing Mo Qianbian immersed in his painful memories. Mo Qianbian looked like he didn't care about the world. Who would have thought that he had experienced such pain in the past? Perhaps beneath the surface of cynicism, there was actually a fragile heart. Hold on. Don't give up. I believe you can do it. Lin Feng looked at Mo Qianbian and muttered to himself. However, Mo Qianbian's aura began to weaken. He no longer roared or struggled. His life force was rapidly disappearing. He seemed to have given up. When he was immersed in that incomparable pain, once he gave up, it would be disastrous. He would probably die here. Lin Feng's expression changed greatly. Was Mo Qianbian really going to give up? Please don't give up. No matter what kind of pain he went through. But you still have a long way to go. However, Mo Qianbian's aura grew weaker and weaker. He was so weak. Lin Feng couldn't help but feel sorry for Mo Qianbian because he couldn't sense his life force at all. The power in his body seemed to have been completely sucked out. His body was about to fall limply to the ground. Right at this moment, Mo Qianbian's life aura began to flourish again. No, I want to live on. A weak voice could be heard. It was just like how a single spark could start a prairie fire. Mo Qianbian's life aura became stronger and stronger. His will. He was conquering the fear in his heart. 2 hours later, Mo Qianbian finally defeated the fear in his heart and opened his eyes. I am invincible. No one can kill me. Then, the guy shouted loudly. He walked out of the valley and fell to the ground, gasping for breath. His eyes were empty. Perhaps at this moment, his brain was also empty. Although he had overcome the fear in his heart, he had once again experienced the pain he had experienced in the past. This kind of feeling was truly worse than death. Get up. Don't waste time. Lin Feng kicked Mo Qianbian. Mo Qianbian's Thoughts were pulled back to the real world. He climbed up from the ground and followed behind Lin Feng. As he walked inside, he complained, "You unreasonable guy, can't you let me rest for a while?" "No," Lin Feng said. Mo Qianbian went silent and said, "Thank you for your encouragement." Lin Feng looked at Mo Qianbian doubtfully. Just as I was about to give up, I heard your voice," Mo Qianbian said. "I just don't want to see my subordinates die so easily. You can't die in these 100 years. I still have many things for you to do. After these 100 years, you can die wherever you want. Even if you want to buy a piece of tofu and kill yourself, I won't stop you." Lin Feng said indifferently. Mo Qianbian didn't refute Lin Feng and said, "Actually, you're a good person." Lin Feng felt a chill when he saw Mo Qianbian looking at him. He kicked Mo Qianbian away and said fiercely, "Don't look at me like that. I'm a straight man. I like women. I like beautiful women. I like women too." Mo Qianbian said speechlessly after climbing up. Roar. A deep roar could be heard as terrifying beasts drilled out from the ground. These beasts had huge skeletons like velociraptors. However, there wasn't much meat on them. Apart from the bones, there was only a layer of skin. It was actually a group of underground skeleton beasts. These underground skeleton beasts were extremely strong and had many innate divine abilities. Hundreds of underground skeleton beasts surrounded Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian. "Damn it! Our magic power has been completely suppressed. I'm afraid we're done for." Mo Qianbian said with an ugly expression, "What's there to be afraid of? Our magic power has been suppressed. So will their magic power. If we can't use our divine abilities, they won't be able to use theirs as well." Lin Feng said with a smirk, "Roar." A skeleton from the ground roared and moved towards Lin Feng at full speed. "Good timing." Lin Feng sneered and leaped out. Fast, fast, fast. Lin Feng's speed was too fast. He was as fast as lightning. Then he threw a punch at the subterranean skeleton beast that was pouncing towards him. Bang! The punch landed heavily on the subterranean skeleton beast's body. Lin Feng's strength was too terrifying. The underground skeleton beast was sent flying by Lin Feng. Its body exploded. Severed limbs fell in all directions. What a perverted body. Are you really a human? Mo Qianbian couldn't help but ask. A genuine human? Yi Fuqian murmured. Lin Feng said. Then he charged into the group of beasts. He leaped around the group of subterranean skeleton beasts and threw punches at them one after another. Chapter 3993. Mo Qianbian's physical body was actually very strong. His clan was a branch of the Nether race. The Nether race's physical bodies were very strong. Of course, there was still a gap between him and Lin Feng, especially in terms of strength. The gap was even more obvious when compared to Lin Feng. Bang, bang, bang. Mo Qianbian displayed his might. Just like Lin Feng, he sent an underground skeleton beast flying with a punch. Seeing how powerful Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian were, how would these underground skeleton beasts dare to continue fighting with Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian? They quickly fled. In the blink of an eye, they burrowed into the ground and escaped. Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian continued walking deeper into the mountain range. There were many powerful, ferocious beasts living in the mountain range, except for the subterranean skeleton beast that they had encountered earlier. Lin Feng also saw some terrifying beasts. However, they seemed to know that Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian weren't people to be trifled with. Therefore, they didn't dare to find trouble with Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian. They went deeper into the mountain range and passed through 7 peaks. Finally, They arrived at the 8th peak. There were only 8 peaks in the mountain range. The 8th peak was the deepest peak. Waves of terrifying energy waves were emitted from the 8th peak. The aura was terrifying to the extreme. It was enough to make one's expression change. The white fog is coming from the 8th peak, Mo Qianbian said with a serious expression. Lin Feng nodded and said, "Be careful. The closer we are to the truth, the more dangerous it is." The two walked towards the 8th peak. In the depths of the 8th peak, they saw a large amount of ruins. There seemed to be many stone halls built here. However, all that was left of these stone halls were broken walls. Stone halls. They look like temples. Did someone build a temple here in the past? But why did all these temples collapse? Lin Feng couldn't help but frown. This place was very strange, and it gave him a sense of unease. Lin Feng searched for some clues in these dilapidated stone halls. Very quickly, Lin Feng determined that these stone halls were really temples, because he had found the broken statue. "It's a very old temple," Mo Qianbian said. "Could it be a temple from the Stone Age? If it is in this era, then it is indeed too long ago." Lin Feng frowned slightly and said, "What puzzles me is, where did the white fog come from?" Mo Qianbian said, "The only thing that could be confirmed was that the white fog should have come from this area. However, apart from this ruined stone hall, Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian couldn't find any clues." "Let's keep looking. Maybe we can find some clues," Lin Feng said. He and Mo Qianbian split up to search for clues. Not long later, Lin Feng really found some clues. He found a stone tablet embedded in the ground under a pile of ruins. Lin Feng dug out the stone tablet. The stone tablet was very simple and unadorned, emitting the aura of time. Even after countless years, the stone tablet was still intact. "What are these words?" Lin Feng frowned and looked at the 2 words on the stone tablet. Twisted and crooked. He didn't recognize these words. "Eternal suppression," Demon Lord said. "Eternal suppression?" Lin Feng was astonished. These 2 words could make one think of many things. "I found a stone tablet here too." At this moment, Mo Qianbian shouted from another direction. Lin Feng flew toward Mo Qianbian. Soon, he arrived at Mo Qianbian's location. Mo Qianbian also found a stone tablet that looked exactly the same. This stone tablet was also buried underground. The 2 of them took out the stone tablets. Lin Feng discovered that the words on the second stone tablet were exactly the same as the words on the first stone tablet. They were both eternal suppression. Eternal suppression. Eternal suppression. Did it mean eternal suppression? Lin Feng couldn't help but frown and ponder. He felt that this might be the meaning. Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian separated and continued to search for valuable things in the ruins. Not long after, Lin Feng found the 3rd stone tablet. After digging it out, the words eternal suppression were still written on the 3rd stone tablet. Mo Qianbian found the 4th stone tablet, which also had the words eternal suppression. It seemed that all the stone tablets had the words eternal suppression. Lin Feng was astonished. These stone tablets, what were their origins? In the end, Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian dug out a total of 8 stone tablets. All 8 stone tablets had the words eternal suppression. The 8 eternal suppression stone tablets are buried under these stone palaces. Say, do you think there's something terrifying suppressed under these stone palaces? Mo Qianbian looked at Lin Feng and asked. Lin Feng's face darkened as he said, "That's a possibility. Damn, if there's something terrifying suppressed down there. Nothing will happen if we dig out the 8 stone tablets, right?" Mo Qianbian's face turned green. Quick, quick, quick. Bury the 8 stone tablets again." Lin Feng said, solemnly. Mo Qianbian didn't dare to hesitate and rushed towards a stone tablet with Lin Feng. Lin Feng carried a stone tablet and pushed it back to its original position. Then, without daring to linger, he immediately rushed toward the second stele. Then, he buried the second stele in its original location. Mo Qianbian also buried the stone tablets in their original positions. In the end, Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian buried 4 stone tablets each. After burying the stone tablets, Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian heaved a sigh of relief. They sat down in the ruins. "Are we overreacting?" Mo Qianbian asked. Nothing had happened during the entire process. Now, it seemed that they had indeed overreacted. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. "I think so too. Maybe we guessed wrongly." However, right after Lin Feng said that, Lin Feng's expression changed. Wisps of white mist escaped from the place where the 8 stone steles were buried. "Look, white fog." Mo Qianbian stood up, his expression turning ugly. "There's really something else down there." Lin Feng quickly stood up as well. He looked grave and dignified. More and more white fog was spreading out. Lin Feng felt a dangerous aura. "Let's go quickly leave this place and find a cave to hide in," Lin Feng said solemnly and took the lead to rush out. Mo Qianbian and Lin Feng rushed out together. However, at this moment, a ghastly and terrifying aura permeated the air. The white fog was also increasing. The white fog seemed to have a mind of its own as it quickly swept towards Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian. Chapter 3994. The white fog was chasing after them. How unlucky! Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian ran as fast as they could to avoid the white fog. However, their magic power was suppressed, and it was hard for them to escape from the white fog by relying on their physical speed. "We're done for. We have nowhere to hide," Mo Qianbian said with a gloomy face. Lin Feng also knew that he and Mo Qianbian would definitely not be able to escape from the white fog. Therefore, Lin Feng quickly said, "After the white fog engulfs us, we'll act according to the situation." "All right." Mo Qianbian nodded. Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian were making their final attempt. However, they were still unable to escape from the white fog. In the end, Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian were swallowed by the white fog. Their bodies flew uncontrollably towards the ruins. "What the hell is releasing this white fog?" Mo Qianbian wailed. Lin Feng also wanted to know what the hell was releasing the white fog. However, he might be able to find out later. The white fog quickly shrouded over, emitting a terrifying power that made one's heart palpitate. Not long after, Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian arrived at the ruins. The white fog seemed to want to pull them into the underground world. "Look, what's that?" Mo Qianbian pointed in a direction. Within the white fog, there was a sparkling light. In the vast white world, it seemed very out of place. However, the white fog blocked their vision, and they couldn't see what it was. Lin Feng opened his eye of origin and looked at that thing. Then his eyes lit up, and he said, "It's a god statue, a broken god statue. Perhaps we can use the broken god statue to resist the white fog's devouring." Hearing this, Mo Qianbian's eyes also lit up. This was really a good idea. Perhaps it would really be useful. When Lin Feng got close to a broken god statue, he used the 1,000 catty fall of his martial arts. After using the 1,000 catty fall, Lin Feng's body suddenly became as heavy as a mountain. Lin Feng, who had been swept deeper into the white fog, landed on the ground and picked up the broken statue. The white fog seemed to have a spirit of its own as it released an even more powerful force towards Lin Feng. Suddenly, however, a holy light radiated out from the broken statue. The holy light protected Lin Feng from the white fog. Is it really possible? Lin Feng was overjoyed. When Mo Qianbian passed by a broken statue, he also used the 1,000-kilogram drop. He fell down and immediately picked up the broken statue. When the white mist suddenly increased in power, it was already too late to sweep Mo Qianbian away. Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian relied on the broken statues to resist the white mist. Clang, clang, clang. At this moment, a series of strange sounds came from all directions. It's the 8 stone tablets. Mo Qianbian's expression suddenly changed. This is troublesome. Perhaps something terrible is going to be released by us. Go, go, go. We can't stay here any longer. Lin Feng said solemnly. They had to leave this place as soon as possible and inform the others to leave Bewilderment Fog Island as soon as possible, because Lin Feng felt that the existence sealed inside was definitely an unimaginably terrifying existence. If they didn't leave now, it was possible that everyone would be wiped out. Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian quickly rushed out. Not long after they left, the 8 stone tablets soared into the sky. White gas seeped out from the 8 deep pits. Ji-ji-ji-ji. A series of sinister sounds resounded between heaven and earth. Anyone who heard it would feel their hair stand on end. It was as terrifying as the laughter of a devil. Not long after, a terrifying existence condensed. That terrifying existence was an energy body. Clearly, it had lost its physical body. That terrifying existence looked very similar to a human, but its body was covered in dense white scales. It was truly terrifying. No one knew what race it was. I'm finally free. Back then, I was suppressed here by that old fart Fushi. After countless years, my physical body has been destroyed. Fortunately, I have the all-energy absorption body. Although my physical body has been destroyed, it doesn't matter. As long as I devour enough flesh and blood essence, I'll be able to reform my physical body. The bloodlines of the 2 fellows who just came here are very powerful. If I devour them, it will be a great supplement. The terrifying existence couldn't help but laugh sinisterly. Swoosh! The next moment, a light flashed, and the terrifying existence disappeared without a trace. After Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian came out from the deepest part of the mountain range, they pushed their speed to the limit. They quickly rushed out. However, not long after they flew out, a large amount of white fog gushed out from the void in front of them. The white fog covered the sky and blocked Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian's path. A white figure appeared in the white fog. It was the terrifying existence from before. After seeing this existence, Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian's faces instantly turned ugly. This terrifying existence had really chased after them. This was going to be troublesome. Of course, Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian were used to big scenes. Although they knew that the current situation was extremely dangerous for them, the 2 quickly calmed down. The terrifying existence stared at Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian with a pair of sinister eyes and said, "I really have to thank the 2 of you for helping me escape." That pair of sinister eyes looked like it was sizing up an exquisite piece of art. That gaze was simply too terrifying. It made one's hair stand on end. Hee, you're welcome. It's fate that we met. However, we still have things to do today. We won't stay any longer, Lin Feng said, and changed direction with Mo Qianbian. However, at this time, the white fog covered the sky and sealed the surroundings, completely trapping Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian in this place. Mo Qianbian wanted to cry, but had no tears. What is the meaning of this? Hee, nothing special. I just want to eat the 2 of you, the terrifying existence said sinisterly. We let you out, but you want to eat us. Otherworldly beings are truly ingrates. Lin Feng couldn't help but sneer. You know that I'm an otherworldly being? The terrifying existence stared at Lin Feng with a pair of sinister eyes. Lin Feng coldly said, "Of course, although you're only a soul body, the aura of an otherworldly being is very special. You're quite observant. However, no matter what, you won't be able to escape death." Chapter 3995. "Do it," Lin Feng shouted. Swish! With a flash of light, the 3 pure 8 trigrams diagram flew out. The 3 pure 8 trigrams diagram. First, suppress the foreign living being. Second, destroy the lost race of the era. Third, seal the undying living being. Fourth, destroy the undead of the underworld. Fifth, destroy the traitor of the era. Sixth, kill the false god. Although this terrifying existence was only a void spirit body, it was still a void spirit body formed by a foreign living being. The 3 pure 8 trigrams diagram could restrain this terrifying being. At the same time, Mo Qianbian also took out a powerful treasure. It was a whip. The treasure was called the Deity's Striking Whip. It was a supreme treasure forged by imitating the ancient weapon, the Deity's Striking Whip. Its power was extremely terrifying. Under Lin Feng's control, the 3 pure 8 trigrams diagram flew out quickly and arrived in front of the huge palm in an instant. Then it swept towards the huge palm. The Deity's Striking Whip was also taken out by Mo Qianbian. The Deity's Striking Whip rapidly enlarged and instantly became 100 meters long. Then it ruthlessly swept towards the huge palm. Bang, bang. The 3 pure 8 trigrams diagram and the Deity's Striking Whip swept across the huge palm one after another. Immediately, an earth-shattering sound was heard. The huge palm was injured under the attacks of the 3 pure 8 trigrams diagram and the Deity's Striking Whip. Blood flowed out from the wound. Then, the huge palm quickly retracted. "Humph, you have many treasures, but they are useless. Your cultivation is too weak. No matter how powerful your treasures are, you will still die in the end." The terrifying existence said with a cold smile, "How dare a void spirit body be so arrogant?" Lin Feng sneered and waved his hand. Suddenly, 5 heavenly flames flew out. The heavenly flames restrained all soul bodies. This guy's body was a soul body. It was perfectly restrained by Lin Feng's heavenly flames. The 5 heavenly flames formed the 5 elements heavenly flame array and burned fiercely. Even the void distorted. The terrifying existence was enveloped in it. His body began to burn. "Ah, my body." The guy let out a miserable cry. "Ha ha ha, my heavenly fire is restraining it." Lin Feng couldn't help but laugh. Then Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian continued to use their supreme treasures to deal with this fella. The terrifying existence roared furiously. "Brat, it's too early for you to be happy. Even if the heavenly fire can restrain souls, I still have a way to block the heavenly fire's attack." After he finished speaking, he began to chant an incantation. As the incantation continued to be chanted, then something astonishing happened. Numerous runes began to emanate from the body of this terrifying existence. These runes were very special and contained a power that would shock anyone. Moreover, it seemed to be able to isolate the heavenly fire from harming its body. Those runes protected this terrifying existence. When the heavenly fire burned again, it could no longer cause any damage to the terrifying existence. Seeing this, Lin Feng's face could not help but sink slightly. This was going to be troublesome. If the heavenly fire could not suppress this fellow, then, in that case, it would not be an easy task to suppress this fellow again. Break. The terrifying existence waved his hand. Instantly, the 3 pure 8 trigrams diagram and God-striking whip were swept away. Next, the terrifying existence shouted coldly, "Myriad transformation divine art." As soon as his voice fell, The surrounding white mist began to churn violently. The churning white mist actually turned into a huge cauldron. Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian were naturally trapped inside. "Don't tell me they're trying to steam us?" Mo Qianbian said with an ugly expression. Lin Feng said, "Myriad transformation, divine art. This name sounds a little scary." Mo Qianbian nodded. It was indeed, as Lin Feng had said. The name Myriad Transformation Divine Art did sound a little scary. "You will become my food. I will refine you directly." The terrifying existence said in a sinister tone. Next, the white mist condensed into a huge cauldron, emitting a terrifying energy that continuously invaded Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian's bodies. They tried to dissolve the strange energy that invaded their bodies, but to their horror, they realized that they could not do anything about it. This was bad. Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian's expressions turned extremely grave. They tried to rush out, but the terrifying existence was simply too powerful. Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian were pushed back. Soon, Lin Feng discovered something terrifying. He realized that his magic power was declining at a speed visible to the naked eye. Not only his magic power, but he also felt that his physical body was getting weaker. As time passed, his physical body seemed to be melting away. This situation made Lin Feng's expression turn extremely gloomy. It must be the effect of the myriad transformation divine art. This fellow was probably trying to refine him and Mo Qianbian into the purest energy. Then it would devour him and Mo Qianbian. "It's over, we're dead for sure." Mo Qianbian wailed. "I don't want to die. I'm so handsome, so dashing, and I still have a long life ahead of me. I'm not willing to die in this godforsaken place." Hearing that, Lin Feng couldn't help but roll his eyes. "You're already so ugly, yet you still dare to say that you're handsome? Can you be any more shameless?" Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian couldn't think of a way to escape. The situation was very bad. The terrifying existence laughed sinisterly. "Hee hee. Soon, all of you will die in my hands. Now, do you have any last words? You can say them now. Who knows, I might be able to fulfill them for you. Can you let us go?" Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian asked in unison. The corner of the terrifying existence's mouth twitched violently. Then he said fiercely, "Don't you understand human language? I'm talking about your last words, not your wishes. You're not human. Isn't it normal for me to not understand your language?" Lin Feng replied, "Courting death, courting death." The terrifying existence roared furiously, increasing the speed of refining Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian. The situation was getting worse. Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian's expressions turned increasingly ugly. Just as they were about to collapse, a rumbling sound came from the depths. "This is..." Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian looked towards the depths in shock. Kill. Chapter 3996. Soon, Lin Feng discovered that the cultivators in ancient clothing were not real living beings. They were a very special existence. They seemed to be void spirit bodies, but upon closer inspection, they did not seem to be void spirit bodies. Imprint, Lin Feng frowned, feeling that these people might be living beings manifested from the imprints. Lin Feng thought of the innate humans. Could it be that these people were the innate humans who had passed away? Perhaps there was really such a possibility. Those cultivators instantly engaged in a fierce battle with that terrifying existence. Damn it! You lowly living beings actually have imprints that are still alive. Today, I will destroy your imprints. The terrifying existence said viciously. Bang, bang, bang. The two sides engaged in a fierce battle. Those imprints were obviously no match for that terrifying existence. The cultivators who were branded exploded one after another, killed by the terrifying existence. Let's hurry up and run. If we don't run now, after those guys are killed, it will be our turn. Mo Qianbian hurriedly said, his face turning green. Lin Feng said, "What are you running for? Don't be afraid. Attack with all your might. We will definitely be able to kill this guy." Lin Feng did not intend to leave because he felt that even if he left, he would be caught by this terrifying existence. He might as well take advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to fight this terrifying existence to the death. This terrifying existence was indeed powerful, but it was not without weakness. It was a soul body, and this was its biggest weakness. Moreover, the cultivators who had been imprinted on Lin Feng's body were distracting the terrifying cultivator's strength, which gave Lin Feng time. Lin Feng stepped forward in the void and began to chant an incantation. "The great Tao of destiny, please descend the power of destiny. There is an evil existence here that should have died. Please let him return to the path of death." When Lin Feng's voice fell, in an instant, a river of destiny was formed and slammed towards the terrifying existence. Bang! The river of fate slammed into the terrifying existence and sent him flying. However, that terrifying existence was simply too powerful. The river of fate wasn't able to deal any fatal damage to him. Go to hell! Mo Qianbian made use of the void technique to hide in the void. When this terrifying existence was sent flying by the river of fate, Mo Qianbian was shocked. Mo Qianbian shuttled through the void and arrived beside this terrifying existence. Then he lashed out with the god's striking whip. In an instant, Mo Qianbian's terrifying attack caused the body of this terrifying existence to turn even more illusory. Dense cracks even appeared on the illusory body, and those cracks seemed like they would shatter at any moment. Mo Qianbian's deity's striking whip also dealt great damage to these phantom bodies. The terrifying existence roared furiously. His fury overflowed to the heavens, and his killing intent was awe-inspiring. He pounced towards Mo Qianbian, wanting to finish him off. "Oh my God, run, run, run." When Mo Qianbian saw that terrifying existence pouncing towards him, he immediately fled. However, that terrifying existence was simply too fast. It didn't take long for it to catch up to Mo Qianbian. Then it sent a palm strike towards Mo Qianbian. Just as that terrifying palm strike was about to land on Mo Qianbian's body, just then a hole appeared on the chest of that terrifying existence. A hole like this that appeared out of nowhere was extremely damaging to him. Lin Feng had successfully executed the great curse art at the crucial moment, silently dealing a huge blow to this terrifying existence. Here's another whip for you. Mo Qianbian was definitely a cultivator who was good at seizing opportunities. Just as the terrifying being was checking the hole in his chest, Yi Zichen looked at the hole in his chest. Mo Qianbian, who was fleeing pathetically, turned around and lashed out at that terrifying existence once more. The god-striking whip ruthlessly lashed at that terrifying existence's body. That terrifying existence was struck by Mo Qianbian for the second time. This time, the injury was clearly more severe. The cracks on that terrifying existence's body were even more severe. The river of fate flew over and descended from the sky, directly suppressing that terrifying existence below. Break for me. That terrifying existence waved his right fist and smashed it towards the river of fate, wanting to completely destroy it. However, the river of fate was simply too powerful, coupled with the fact that his injuries weren't light. He simply couldn't destroy the river of fate that Lin Feng had summoned. Kill! A deep roar resounded through the clouds. A large number of branded cultivators wearing ancient clothing charged towards that terrifying existence. I'm undying and indestructible. The terrifying existence roared, and a large amount of white fog surged out of his body. The white fog rushed towards the cultivators who were rushing towards him. A large number of cultivators exploded and dissipated into thin air. However, those cultivators still charged towards that terrifying existence without any fear of death. One had to admit that this fellow was truly too powerful. His combat strength could be considered heaven-defying. It was truly terrifying. While killing the cultivators charging towards him, he continued to punch out with all his might. Punch after punch, he smashed towards the river of fate that was suppressing him. Under such a constant barrage of attacks, the river of fate couldn't hold on for long. I'll be free soon. When the time comes, all of you will die. That terrifying existence roared. Pooh! As soon as his voice fell, a ripping sound could be heard. He looked at his own body. His body had been sliced in half by Lin Feng's black dragon sword. Lin Feng held the black dragon sword in one hand and the broken statue in the other. The broken statue could neutralize the white mist's attacks. Therefore, Lin Feng silently approached that terrifying existence and launched a sure-kill attack. Isn't this sword cool? Isn't it cool? Lin Feng grinned at that terrifying existence. Let's go die together. That terrifying existence's half-body charged towards Lin Feng. At the same time, Lin Feng took out the Gourd of Fortune. A powerful devouring force emanated from the Gourd of Fortune, directly devouring that terrifying existence's half-body. After that, the Gourd of Fortune devoured the remaining half-body as well. Hee, yours truly will soon refine you to raise my soul power. Lin Feng smiled and kept the Gourd of Fortune. Chapter 3997. This old man should be the leader of this group of branded cultivators. Lin Feng was shocked. These branded cultivators actually had their own consciousness and could think. It was truly unbelievable. Lin Feng said, "Senior, you don't have to be so polite. We should be the ones thanking you. If not for you, I'm afraid we would have died. We can finally rest in peace now that we've eliminated this devil," the old man said emotionally. They weren't real living beings, not even spiritual bodies. They were just a group of existences created by the laws of heaven and earth through some special medium. They couldn't exist in this world for long. "Senior, back then, did you all die because of that fellow?" Lin Feng asked. "That's right. Back then, he enslaved this island and destroyed the temple. We died because of that. Later, Sage Emperor Fuxi came and suppressed that terrifying existence. Furthermore, Sage Emperor Fuxi used a secret technique to collect a portion of our auras and used them as the source to create us branded cultivators. We're here to protect the seal." Li Yundong said, "Now that this devil is dead, our wish has been fulfilled. Now, we will completely disappear." The old man said. As the old man finished speaking, the branded cultivators' bodies began to turn illusory. It seemed that they were about to completely disappear. The 8 stone tablets are still inside. They were left behind by Saint Emperor Fuxi. Although they look ordinary, perhaps there's something special about them. The old man said. Lin Feng knew that the 8 stone tablets the old man was talking about were the ones with the words "Eternal Suppression" written on them. "Thank you for the reminder, Senior. This junior will go and collect the 8 stone tablets now." Lin Feng said. The old man nodded, and then his body disappeared into thin air. Just like the old man, the branded cultivators standing behind the old man also dissipated. Seeing the old man and the others disappear, Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh. He collected his emotions and looked at Mo Qianbian. "Let's go. We'll go and collect the 8 stone tablets." Mo Qianbian grinned and said, I say, I also contributed in eliminating that fellow. You can't hog that fellow's void spirit body for yourself. Don't worry, I'll give you a leg when the time comes. Lin Feng said, at least 2 legs. Mo Qianbian said, you really want to become stronger? Lin Feng asked Mo Qianbian. There were very few subordinates like Mo Qianbian who would take the initiative to ask for benefits from their master. At the very least, it was Lin Feng's first time encountering such trash. It was very rash to do that. Mo Qianbian wouldn't have done this if he didn't want to seize every opportunity to become stronger. Yes, Mo Qianbian put away his frivolous expression and nodded. Lin Feng said, when the time comes, I'll give you the lower half of that guy's body. Hee, this is good. I didn't follow the wrong person. Mo Qianbian grinned. Not long later, Lin Feng and Mo Qianbian arrived at the ruins. 8 stone steels were scattered in the ruins. Lin Feng collected them. Since these 8 stone steels were left behind by Saint Emperor Fuxi, they must be extraordinary. Lin Feng kept the 8 stone steels in the temporal space and left with Mo Qianbian. Back at his residence, Lin Feng introduced Mo Qianbian to everyone. Mo Qianbian grinned and said, ha ha ha, everyone, please take care of me in the future. Let's make money together and share treasures together. The others weren't familiar with Mo Qianbian and weren't used to his method of getting close to others. Hence, they didn't reply. However, Mo Qianbian didn't feel awkward at all. He had always been thick-skinned. Everyone was curious about what Lin Feng had experienced inside. Lin Feng briefly explained what had happened inside. Lin Feng's explanation was simple, but everyone knew that the entire process was extremely dangerous. Luckily, Lin Feng came back safe and sound. According to their agreement, Lin Feng handed over the lower half of that fellow's body to Mo Qianbian. Mo Qianbian was so excited that he started dancing. As for Lin Feng, he entered his cave to refine the soul power in the upper half of the body. Kid, do you know who I am? Do you know how strong my race is? You better let me go now. Otherwise, you're dead, shouted the terrifying being in the gourd of good fortune furiously. Surprisingly, Lin Feng wasn't dead, and he was threatening Lin Feng. He really didn't know what a prisoner should do. Lin Feng sneered and said, I don't care what race you are. What's your background? I only know that you're a supplement for my soul power. With that, Lin Feng activated the Gourd of Fortune to refine this terrifying existence. This terrifying existence was indeed powerful. However, it couldn't withstand Lin Feng's Gourd of Fortune's refinement. After all, there was only half of its body left. Its injuries were too severe. It was gradually being refined. However, it wasn't willing to give up. It yelled, spare me, as long as you spare me. I can give you many powerful abilities, treasures, and even bring you to many immortal realms to seek opportunities. Lin Feng didn't pay attention to that guy. He continued to activate the Gourd of Fortune to refine this terrifying existence. Seeing that Lin Feng wasn't moved by force or persuasion, the terrifying existence cursed. The terrifying existence immediately cursed, Brat, I curse you to die a horrible death. I curse you to end up 10 times more miserable than me, said Lin Feng while smiling coldly. If cursing people could kill them, Lin Feng wouldn't be able to do it. He also wanted to learn this ability. Finally, this terrifying existence was completely refined by Lin Feng into pure soul power. Now, it was very difficult for Lin Feng's soul to improve. Even a breakthrough of a large realm couldn't make his soul grow by a large margin. However, Lin Feng felt that if he refined this terrifying existence's soul, his soul level would definitely increase again. Lin Feng's soul power was currently at the 5th heaven of the Emperor Lord realm. He wondered how many levels his soul power would increase after refining this terrifying existence's soul power. Lin Feng was looking forward to it. Lin Feng began to refine this terrifying existence's soul power. As the soul power was refined by Lin Feng's soul level began to increase. It didn't take long for it to increase from the 5th heaven of the Emperor Lord Realm to the 6th heaven of the Emperor Lord Realm. After increasing by 1 level, the consumption of soul power wasn't particularly high. This made Lin Feng extremely excited. It seemed that he would be able to break through a few more levels this time. Finally, Lin Feng completely refined all the soul power. His soul level increased from the 5th heaven of the Emperor Lord Realm to the 9th heaven of the Emperor Lord Realm. Chapter 3998. Lin Feng was very satisfied with this closed-door cultivation. Being able to break through to the 9th layer of the Emperor Realm was definitely a huge improvement. This made Lin Feng extremely excited. After Lin Feng came out of closed-door cultivation, he found that Mo Qianbian was still in closed-door cultivation. If he refined the soul energy, Mo Qianbian would definitely be greatly improved. 9 Eyes, what's the situation outside? Lin Feng asked, reporting to young master. The situation outside is extremely turbulent, especially at this stage. It's said that the 3 alliances are already showing signs of joining forces to deal with the Endless Ghost Sand Army. Emperor Jiuyin said, "Oh, joining forces to deal with the Endless Ghost Sand Army?" Lin Feng was surprised. Emperor Jiuyin said, "Yes, the Sacred War Alliance is no match for the Endless Ghost Sand Army. Now that they are retreating, it won't be long before most of their territories fall." But that's not the most terrifying part. The most terrifying part is, before this, many experts from the Sacred War Alliance wanted to join forces to deal with the Endless Ghost Sand Lord. However, even with so many experts joining forces, they were still instantly defeated by the Endless Ghost Sand Lord. The experts of the Sacred War Alliance, the Alliance of Immortals, and the Alliance of Demons and Demons have all realized the seriousness of the matter. The Master in the Boundless Ghost Sand is too powerful. We have to join forces to deal with the Boundless Ghost Sand Army. Otherwise, the Heavenly Sage Great World will be completely occupied by the Boundless Ghost Sand Army. Lin Feng nodded and said, "Without the lips, the teeth will be cold." The 3 major forces obviously understand this principle. Lin Feng decided to continue observing the situation outside. Soon, all kinds of news spread. The Endless Ghost Sand Army was still invading the Heavenly Sage Great World's territories with an unstoppable force. The first territory to be invaded was the Sacred War Alliance's territory. Following that, the Immortal Alliance and Demon Alliance's territories were also invaded. The 3 alliances tried to stop the Endless Ghost Sand Army many times, but they all ended in failure. Moreover, the losses were extremely huge. In the end, it was said that the 3 alliances used some shocking resources. They took out the ancient weapon. It's too terrifying. Every time they used the ancient weapon, they had to sacrifice tens of thousands of cultivators. With such a tragic price, they defeated the Endless Ghost Sand Army. After a short time, Lin Feng's subordinates came to report to him. Lin Feng was astonished. Ancient weapons were monstrously powerful. Their power was simply unimaginable. And now, the 3 great alliances had actually brought out their ancient weapons. It was truly unbelievable. Actually, This news was enough to shock the world. The moon god blocked the ancient weapon's attack. Originally, the moon god wanted to suppress the ancient weapon, but at this moment, a terrifying expert walked out from each of the three alliances. They were all experts who came out from the God Stone. A mysterious woman walked out from the Sacred War Alliance. That woman's cultivation was unfathomable. An old demon walked out from the Demon Alliance. His methods were heaven-defying. A 9-orifice stone man walked out from the Immortal Alliance. The 9-orifice stone man was one of the most terrifying creatures among the stone men. It was very difficult to nurture a 9-orifice stone man. Usually, before they could grow, they would be destroyed by the world because the world did not allow such a creature to exist. However, as long as a 9-orifice stone man was born, it would be extremely terrifying. Its battle strength would be heaven-defying. The 9-orifice stone man from the Immortal Alliance was like this. Its cultivation was so powerful that it could shake the world. It was truly shocking. The three experts activated the ancient weapon. At the same time, there were people constantly sacrificing themselves to increase the ancient weapon's power. In the end, they blocked the moon god's attack. The three alliances and the endless ghost sand army's master plan to have peace talks. They've already stopped fighting. Not long after, Lin Feng received a new piece of news. In truth, he had already expected this to happen. The endless ghost sand army was very powerful, and the moon god was almost invincible. However, the three alliances also had their own extraordinary methods. There was no benefit to both sides if the war continued. Therefore, peace talks were imperative. However, the division of benefits in the peace talks would depend on the trump cards of the two sides during the peace talks. It's a pity that the Sacred War Alliance hasn't been destroyed. However, looking at the time, it won't be long after the peace talks. The new batch of geniuses to enter the Myriad Tribe's divine palace will be selected. Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. The location of the peace talks was quickly decided. It would be in the city of Myriad Saints. The city of Myriad Saints was the ancient city where the Myriad Tribe's divine palace had appeared. It was said that the Myriad Tribe's divine palace had appeared above the city of Myriad Saints. Lin Feng planned to go to the city of Myriad Saints to meet Sun Yudao of the Immortal Alliance. He hoped to borrow Sun Yudao's power to enter the Myriad Tribe's divine palace. There were many ancient divine abilities in the Myriad Tribe's divine palace. Moreover, there were top-notch offensive divine abilities. After cultivating them, one's cultivation base would be greatly improved. Lin Feng told everyone to stay on the Bewilderment Fog Island for the time being. He planned to go to the city of Myriad Saints. Emperor Jiuyan and the others wanted to follow Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng didn't think it was necessary and didn't allow them to follow him. After leaving the Bewilderment Fog Island, Lin Feng returned to the continent. Along the way, Lin Feng saw many dilapidated towns and cities. Corpses were everywhere. War had always been so cruel. Many people would die. Some deserved to die, but others were innocent. Lin Feng left the Bitter Frost Island and arrived at the territory ruled by the Sacred War Alliance. Then, he heard a piece of news about the fallen angels. It was said that the fallen angels had died in the war against the Boundless Ghost Sand Army because of their old patriarch. The 5 main bloodlines of the fallen angels were fighting fiercely for the position of patriarch. The fallen angels are also the imperial family of the Myriad Tribes, right? Lin Feng couldn't help but raise his eyebrows slightly. He thought of the fallen angels Saintess, Naylan Monley. Back then, the two of them were enemies. Naylan Monley wanted to kill him, but in the end, he was captured by him. Lin Feng's principle was not to kill beautiful women. Therefore, he naturally wouldn't kill her. In the end, Lin Feng and Nalen Monley dual cultivated for a while before letting Nalen Monley go. Chapter 3999. Skyfall City, one of the ancient cities ruled by the Holy War Alliance. Because it was quite far from the Bitter Cold province, Skyfall City was still in the hands of the Holy War Alliance and had not been taken over by the Endless Ghost Sand Army. Lin Feng came to Skyfall City. The Holy War Alliance was the most hostile force against the human race. Therefore, there were very few humans in Skyfall City. Even if there were humans, they were usually just servants. Heavenly Sage Great World had very few humans, and most of them were gathered in the Immortal God Alliance. Therefore, Lin Feng walked for a long time in Skyfall City, but he did not see a single human. Instead, he saw many different kinds of cultivators. Roar! At this moment, the roar of a beast came from afar. Many people were startled. They looked in the direction of the roar and saw a large amount of evil energy rolling in. In the evil energy, many ferocious beasts were galloping. There was a cultivator sitting on each of the ferocious beasts. It's the endless ghosts and armies living beings. Many people were shocked and hurriedly made way. Not long after, the endless ghosts and armies commander and the leaders of the three alliances had a peace talk. Therefore, the ancient cities ruled by both sides would not stop the other side's cultivators from entering. This was also why the Endless Ghost Sand Army had appeared in Skyfall City. Lin Feng stood at the side of the road and squinted at the cultivators in the Endless Ghost Sand Army. There were both living beings and undead spirits. He did not know what they were doing here. Lin Feng guessed that they were here with a mission, but he did not know what the mission was. After the cultivators in the Endless Ghost Sand Army left, the surrounding people burst into an uproar. They began to discuss the purpose of the cultivators in the Endless Ghost Sand Army. Actually, Lin Feng felt that their destination was not necessarily Skyfall City. Perhaps Skyfall City was just a temporary stop. They would rest here for a while before leaving again. Lin Feng planned to find a restaurant to have a good meal and rest for the night before continuing on to Myriad Saints City. The Endless Ghosts and Armies commander and the leaders of the three alliances had not started the negotiations yet. Therefore, Lin Feng was not in a hurry to reach Myriad Saints City. It would take some time for the Myriad Tribes Temple to reopen. At the very least, it would wait until the end of the negotiations before it could be opened again. Lin Feng saw a luxurious restaurant called Heavenfall Restaurant. This restaurant was probably the most high-end restaurant in Skyfall City. Lin Feng had seen many other restaurants along the way, but none of them could be compared to the Skyfall restaurant. Lin Feng decided to try out the delicacies of the Heaven's Descent Inn. He walked towards the inn, but just as he reached the entrance, he heard a cold laugh. "Brat, stop right there." When Lin Feng heard that, he stopped and turned around. He saw a dozen cultivators. They were all cultivators from the 10,000 clans. The leader of the group had a pair of golden wings. He was a cultivator from the Golden Holy Winged Clan, one of the imperial clans of the 10,000 clans. That clan was extremely strong among the 10,000 clans. Is something the matter? Lin Feng glanced at the golden sacred feather race cultivator and asked, "Heavenfall Restaurant, humans and dogs are not allowed to enter." The golden sacred feather race cultivator said mockingly, "The alliance of the Holy War despised the human clan to the extreme. Especially after the failure to invade the 9 provinces, they hated the human clan even more." Lin Feng was a human cultivator, so it was only natural that he was looked down upon by the Sacred War Alliance cultivators. "Ha ha ha ha! Brother Nangong is really humorous, but I agree with your words. How can we eat in the same restaurant as a lowly human cultivator? Wouldn't that be a disgrace to our status?" Someone else said, Humans are nothing but our slaves. Their status is far from being comparable to the watchdogs of our clans. That's true. Humans are inferior to dogs. The myriad tribe's cultivators immediately burst into laughter, looking at Lin Feng with disdain. Many people were watching. They were used to seeing things like this. If a human cultivator came to an ancient city under the control of the Sacred War Alliance, it would be fine if his cultivation was strong enough. If his cultivation wasn't strong enough, he would be humiliated. Actually, being humiliated was a good result. It was even to the extent that many people would be killed, and they would suffer the miserable fate of perishing. Kid, hurry up and scram. This is a high-class place. It's not a place where a lowly human like you can enter. How far is it? How far is it? The golden sacred feather race cultivator looked down at Lin Feng with a haughty attitude, his eyes filled with coldness. Lin Feng sneered inwardly. Everywhere he went, he would meet such arrogant people. He glanced at the myriad tribe's cultivators indifferently, then said, "Looks like I didn't check the almanac before leaving. I only wanted to have a meal, but I heard a bunch of dogs barking nonstop. What's wrong? Could it be that he was hungry? How about this? Kneel on the ground, and I'll give you some dog food in the Heavenfall restaurant. It'll definitely be enough to fill you up." When Lin Feng said this, the surrounding cultivators couldn't help but be stunned. This kid, did he know what he was saying? "Kid, how dare you humiliate us? You want to die?" The myriad tribe's cultivators glared at Lin Feng fiercely. The surrounding cultivators also looked at Lin Feng as if they were looking at a dead man. This was the ancient city ruled by the Sacred War Alliance. Lin Feng, a young human cultivator, had come to Tianluo City. He had to swallow his pride and swallow his pride. However, Lin Feng didn't do that. Instead, he humiliated the golden sacred feather race cultivator and the others. The golden sacred feather race cultivator was a member of the myriad tribe's royal family. The others were also members of the myriad tribe's royal family. These people had extraordinary identities. Lin Feng humiliated them like this. Wasn't he asking for death? However, something shocking happened in the next moment. A bunch of ignorant fools. "Kneel down." Lin Feng laughed coldly and opened up his hands. Instantly, lines of runes formed. Those lines of runes pressed down on the golden sacred feather race cultivator and the others. Lin Feng attacked as soon as he said so. He was really domineering. "Destroy this kid." The golden sacred feather race cultivator shouted coldly and attacked together with the other 10 people. However, before they could attack, they were suppressed by Lin Feng's runes. Thud, 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 thud. Chapter 4000. Oh my God, am I seeing things? Is this brat really that powerful? Cries of surprise rang out one after another. The onlookers all had shocked expressions on their faces. Lin Feng had suppressed so many cultivators with just a flick of his finger. The cultivators that Lin Feng had suppressed were all in the Emperor realm. The most powerful golden, sacred winged race cultivator was already half a step into the sage Emperor realm. Lin Feng was just too young. How could he have such a terrifying cultivation at such a young age? He's not a ferocious dragon. This human cultivator is just too powerful. I'm afraid these fellows have kicked an iron plate today. Yeah, they have indeed kicked an iron plate. But then again, it's rare to see such a terrifying cultivator at such a young age. That golden sacred winged race cultivator is called Nan Gongzheng. This person's identity is not ordinary. The current leader of the golden sacred winged race is Nan Gongzheng's great-grandfather. I heard that Nan Gongzheng came to Skyfall City with his elders to celebrate the city lord's birthday. Now that Nan Gongzheng is kneeling on the ground, he's a disgrace to the royal family. The golden sacred winged race will never let this go. That's right. I wonder if this brat will take this opportunity to escape Skyfall City. If he leaves now, there's still time. Some of the onlookers whispered to each other. Lin Feng heard their discussion, but he didn't care at all with his current cultivation. Unless he had encountered cultivators close to or above the immortal realm, even high-level Emperor realm cultivators wouldn't be able to do anything to him. Brat, how dare you humiliate us like this? Let us go now. Otherwise, you're dead meat. The golden sacred winged race cultivator's eyes turned bloodshot as he roared loudly. This guy had always been a high and mighty figure. When had he ever been humiliated like this? Now, he felt like he was better off dead. His hatred for Lin Feng couldn't be washed away even with all the water in the world. Lin Feng looked at the golden sacred winged race cultivator indifferently and sneered. Do you think I'm afraid of you? What a joke. Little second brother, come here. Lin Feng crooked his finger at the waiter, who was watching the commotion at the door. Young master, what are your orders? The waiter bowed and asked, Go, put some leftovers in front of them and feed them to these guys. Lin Feng said faintly, This. The waiter's face turned green. How would he dare? If you don't go, do you believe that I won't tear down this broken restaurant? Lin Feng said indifferently. Damn, this brat is really arrogant. Many cultivators who were watching the show couldn't help but roll their eyes. Lin Feng, a young human cultivator, came to the territory of the Holy War Alliance and even threatened to tear down this restaurant with a powerful background. How pretentious! Go get something, the shopkeeper said. The waiter didn't dare to hesitate. He ran to the kitchen and asked people to bring 2 buckets of leftovers. Then Lin Feng asked them to pour the leftovers on the ground. Lin Feng then kicked one of them, the golden sacred winged race cultivator, and the rest fell on the leftovers in front of him. Their faces were covered in the leftovers. Ha 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 ha, the taste is not bad, right? You bastards are only fit to eat dog food. Lin Feng laughed loudly. This brat is really too arrogant. Many people muttered, although the golden sacred winged race cultivator and the rest were the ones who provoked Lin Feng first. So what? The cultivators of the Holy War Alliance were naturally on the golden sacred winged race cultivator's side. Therefore, many people were furious when they saw Lin Feng humiliating the golden sacred winged race cultivator and the rest. Who wants to eat dog food? Come out now. I'll beat you bunch of trash in a matter of minutes. Lin Feng said calmly. There was a large number of cultivators watching the show. Lin Feng was the only human cultivator here, but Lin Feng was still as arrogant as ever. Many people were so humiliated by Lin Feng that they wanted nothing more than to rush up and give Lin Feng a good beating. However, they were quickly held back by their companions. What kind of joke was this? Although this human was extremely arrogant and had been acting tough all this time, he was truly too powerful. Nothing good would come out of offending this brat. Lin Feng looked at the cultivators blocking the entrance and scolded, Scram! Don't block my way. I'm going to eat. The cultivators of the myriad races were furious. But when they thought of Lin Feng's strength, they had no choice but to suppress their anger. They quickly moved to the sides and opened up a path for Lin Feng. Lin Feng swaggered into the restaurant. He looked as though he was saying, Hit me if you can. Many people were gnashing their teeth in anger. Damn it, we've always been the ones humiliating these lowly humans. When have we ever been looked down upon by them? This brat is too arrogant. Who does he think he is? How dare he come to our Sacred War Alliance's territory to act tough? He really doesn't know what's good for him. I'd like to see how this brat is going to die later. The experts of the Golden Sacred Winged Race will definitely not let this brat go. The cultivators of the Sacred War Alliance who were watching the show began to discuss. They couldn't wait to see Lin Feng suffer. These people were all arrogant. They could go to the 9 continents world where humans were gathered and humiliate them as they wished. They could even massacre them. However, now that Lin Feng had come to their territory to act tough, these people couldn't stand it anymore. However, these cultivators were clearly the kind of people who bullied the weak and feared the strong. Although they hated Lin Feng to the core, they didn't dare to do anything to Lin Feng. Hurry up and inform the experts of the Golden Sacred Winged Race. Tell them everything that happened here, the manager of the Heavenfall restaurant said to a subordinate beside him. This restaurant was opened by the people of the City Lord Mansion. Right now, there were many powerful beings of the Golden Holy Feather race who were guests in the City Lord's mansion. Lin Feng ordered a table full of delicacies, ignoring the gazes of others. He wasn't worried about the cultivators coming to take revenge on him. That brat will be crying in a while. Yi Fuqian murmured. Many cultivators sneered, looking forward to this moment. Not long after, a holy light surged in the distance. A middle-aged cultivator flew over. That middle-aged cultivator had a powerful aura. The experts of the Golden Sacred Winged Race are here. This person's aura is so strong. Who is he? That's Nangong Mu from the Golden Sacred Winged Race, right? I heard that he already has 1 foot in the sovereign realm. He's that strong? With him here, that brat is dead for sure.